Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this May 3rd meeting of the NMU Board of Trustees to order, and I would ask Secretary Andrew to please take the roll.
Trustee Young,
Here.
Trustee Hart,
Here.
Trustee Fatante,
Here.
Trustee Sepinen, Trustee Holmquist,
Here.
Trustee LaPointe Dunham,
Here.
Trustee Lindberg,
Here.
Trustee Toutant.
Here.
We have a quorum with 7 trustees present.
Thank you. I'd like at this time to ask for a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to at this time call on Provost Dr. Dahlman to come forward for a moment of silence, please.
Alex Duquette, a sophomore from Marquette, died in a car accident on March 15th. Alex was a 2019 graduate of Negaunee High School. He was in our indoor agriculture program. Alex was a lifelong hockey player, playing on various local teams. Please join me in for a moment of silence for Alex Duquette. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost Dahlman. I'd like to at this time call on Gavin Leach for another moment of silence, please.
Paula Saponich worked as a buildings or ground attendant. She passed away on March 16, 2024, after a courageous battle with a recent illness. Paula began working at NMU as a building grounds attendant in 2000 and has worked in several buildings on campus, including Grease Hall, the Fine Arts Complex, Hedgecock, the K House, and most recently, Jamrich Hall. Her infectious positivity was passed along to everyone she came into contact with. As evidence to her outstanding contributions on campus, Paula was awarded Best in Show for her flower garden outside of Grease Hall as part of the 2010 Adopt a Flower Bed. She received the Excellence in Service Award in 2010 while working as a building grounds attendant in Grease Hall, as well as a Team Award in 2015 with her work at Jamrich Hall. Paula loved being a Wildcat and was special to everyone who knew her on campus. Paula touched the lives of many and will be greatly missed. I ask for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. I'd like to at this time go to item 5 on our agenda, which is a work scholars update, and call on Dave Nyberg and Dr. Polkingham to provide that update.
Good morning, trustees. Good morning, trustees. There we go. Great. All right, we're live. Thanks to Dr. Tussman and to you all for the opportunity to talk about a little project that Dr. Polkinghorn and I have been working on today. My name is David Nyberg. I'm the Executive Director for Business Engagement and Economic Development, which really focuses on trying to build and grow and our relationships with industry and other mission-aligned institutions in support of the university and of course, students and alumni.
And I'm Cale Polkinghorn. I teach in the Engineering Technology Department, and I primarily focus on the CNC programming.
Okay. So a little roadmap of our talk today. We're going to talk a little bit about the vision and origin or the concept of this program and what we envision the opportunity to be. And then Dr. Polkinghorn will speak to some specifics on a current pilot that we're working on with the medical device industry here in the Marquette area. and the Engineering Technology Department. And we're going to, I think the highlight of the presentation is the opportunity to kind of share a video that our colleagues in marketing and communications helped us prepare with a student, Alex Carpenter. So you kind of see through the lens of Alex's experience what the opportunity is with this type of program. And then hopefully we'll get into some good discussion about the potential future, how this type of program can unlock additional opportunities in partnership with industry, and then of course leaving good time for questions and discussion. So really what this program, the Work Scholars Program, is all about is thinking about ways to help students get earlier and more meaningful connections at NMU. And many of you are probably familiar with the traditional internship, which is, some programs may have 4-credit internships, some do not. And actually, I don't know if the engineering tech department has an internship credit course.
We do not.
It's a 300-400 level course. Students will have an opportunity to do an internship in their junior or senior year. This is thinking more about how does students get an opportunity to have work-based learning that aligns with the learning objectives in their study, starting their freshman year at Northern, and carrying that throughout their time. And of course, throughout that process, building meaningful relationships with employers, building mentorship, and then creating opportunities for those relationships to really help the students succeed as they enter their career. Certainly the benefit to NMU is what I just described, what the benefit is for the students, and also the programs, helping to receive curriculum insight for the programs and how that work-based learning experience is keeping up with industry demands and the types of skills that employers are looking for. And students get a pretty good benefit as well. They're, in lieu of sitting in the classroom, they're getting real-world experience. They're earning that credit because they're attaining the learning objectives that they would have otherwise gotten in the classroom. And they're also getting paid, which is also really important. And I think as we get to the discussion point of this vision and concept, we can also imagine other benefits to the student. And we've been having conversations with public sector partners about that as well. This idea or concept also aligns almost perfectly with a lot of what you've been hearing from the state of Michigan and our leaders in state government with respect to our need to grow Michigan's population, and maybe even more acute here in the Upper Peninsula. Our colleagues at InvestUP conducted a study, and the results are pretty dire. We all know that births are not outpacing deaths, and that people, especially when they receive a valuable credential, oftentimes look elsewhere for employment, which is often frustrating for employers in the UP because we have really good paying jobs here in high demand sectors and really exciting sectors that can provide a meaningful work experience and a career experience for students as they graduate and allow them to stay in the Upper Peninsula, which is a shared goal that we all have and certainly part of Northern's mission, vision, and core values. I just wanted to point out on this slide, this is actually a highly summarized outline of the recommendations from the Higher Education Work Group to the Growing Michigan Together Council, which Governor Whitmer announced about this time last year to provide policy recommendations to state officials on how to grow our population. Note the bottom slide the bottom recommendation that's highlighted here actually calls out work-based learning and post-graduation incentives from employers as critical opportunities to help students stay in Michigan. One thing that has been both interesting and frustrating to me is that the data and research that we received from Boston Consulting Group revealed that those two recommendations alone were the only ones that were shown to actually move the needle on population. So we know that what we're trying to do here actually is supported by research and data on population growth. The opportunity that Dr. Polkinghorn will talk about just in a moment here that we're putting into practice as a pilot is a partnership with the medical device manufacturing cluster here in Marquette. We are very fortunate to have 3 outstanding world-class companies here in the Marquette area. Able Medical Devices, which is a subsidiary of JM Longyear, Resolve Surgical Technologies here in Marquette, not too far from campus, and Mount MFG, which is a newer company actually co-founded by 2 NMU alumni. and they're growing rapidly and they're hiring students. So we recognize this opportunity, and of course with the really nice alignment with the engineering technology department and the mechanical engineering technology degree, and in particular, as you'll learn from Dr. Polkinghorn, him personally and his dedication to students, there's a real great opportunity to test this out with the medical device sector. So with that, I'd like to, hey, do you want to drive the deck?
You can drive, I'll
Oh,
just tell
okay.
you when to change it.
I'm gonna hand it over to Cale.
So this program came about from, over my 16 years here, it's amazing at how many times I've had students working in one of these medical device manufacturers, and they're working on CNC mills, they're programming, they're doing all the setups, and they have to take, say, my MF 233 class. And what ends up happening is the students are far beyond what the course is, but they're required to take this. And we do have an advanced placement process, and I'm going to talk about that too, but we didn't have a formal process to actually get that student so he could get credit for that course. So over my 16 years here, this has been an ongoing problem. And so we came up with different solutions to this using the advanced placement program, but what was really difficult is different positions demanded different skills. So this process will allow us to have that, it's almost like a natural transition of what the students wanted for the last 15 years, and it's going to move into this. And so what we did is we decided, how can we align our curriculum with what the students are actually doing at Resolve Surgical Technologies or ABLE? And the way that we did that was we created a little work group. It was made up of somebody from ABLE Medical. We had somebody from Resolve Surgical Technologies and Mountain MFG. And we met every Tuesday, and what we did is we created a situation where we looked at our curriculum and we looked at the needs of each of those medical device manufacturers, and we tried to figure out, all right, what do our students need? And once we figure out what our students need, then we can align our curriculum with that. And at that point, we could figure out some way, a process to have those modules aligned so that way we could have this process work. And it does present challenges, but I think all of those challenges, we can work through all of them. And I want to talk about that too. So what we did is we met, we figured out what courses need to change within our curriculum. We are going to create a cut proposal to actually make that change. And of the one course that we did have to change, we had to eliminate, we had to add another one. And then all of the other courses that were existing, we're just going to tweak that curriculum to match basically what the needs of our number one stakeholders are in this community, which is medical device. And that kind of leads us to the next stage of this. So at this point, what we did is was we created a list of problems that we see that we need to solve. And some of those programs is how are we going to allocate that cost? And all of these are connected, but how are we going to take these students that are getting credit for northern courses, and how are we going to have these students pay for credits when they're actually taking the course technically at another facility? And in order to do that, we thought about how we could create educational consultants at each one of these places. So if we had an education consultant at every partner that we had for this Work Scholar group, then that person essentially works directly with me on how we can meet the demands of that course. And that way there is a teacher for that course, but it's just not me, it's through me. And I think that's probably the best solution for that. And at that point, how do we do grades? At that point, if they're at Resolve Surgical Technologies and they're working with Wes as the educational consultant, how do they enroll in my class, be with Wes, but then receive a grade for my class? So that's another challenge that we're going to need to work through. And the last challenge that I see, they're all connected. The last challenge that I see that we need to figure out is how are we going to have the Work Scholars program but not affect traditional education? So let's just say we have 32 students in a course and there's 2 labs of 16, and we end up having 6 or 7 Work Scholars program or Work Scholars within this program. So now all of a sudden we take 6 students and we eliminate that from the 32, and now we have 1.5 labs. And so are we going to have to eliminate that other lab because we don't have enough students to run that lab? And so I'm a little bit worried about how the Work Scholars program will affect the current traditional route. But I do think that there's a solution to that. One idea that I thought through was to have that student enrolled in the course as a number in the class that can report to me kind of on a different day, or something that works with their work schedule. And I'm not 100% sure how that would work, but these challenges are something that we're going to need to work through, and it's going to take, our administrative team along with the department head in our department and the faculty to figure out those challenges.
Thank you, Cale. And I did glaze over for moving on to the video with Alex. I did want to recognize Rob Kinney is in the audience. Thanks for being here, Rob. I don't know if anybody else showed up, but we had Rob is a adjunct faculty in the department, so he's also teaching students, and he's also been a keystone of this project, this pilot project. Rob is with Able Medical Devices and has also been involved in advocating for partnerships through Able to get world-class equipment in Cale's lab, the Tsugami Swiss turn machines, and Able was a partner in that philanthropically. And so it's really outstanding. The photos you see on the screen here are Jesse Nye and Eric Linsula from Mount MFG. Those are our NMU alums that co-founded that company. And I think we need to do a field trip over to their shop sometime. It is just outstanding. And once you go there, you'll be blown away at all of these places, at Able, at Mount, and Resolve, but especially seeing what's happened through this type of growth. And so I also did want to give you some context, and this might have come through in questions, but between these 3 employers, we do have about 350 employees working directly in medical device manufacturing here in the Marquette area. The demand for Cale's students in this program is about 30 per year with the current pipeline. But if you talk to every employer privately, they'll tell you we can get the contracts if we know the pipeline grows. So it's pretty exciting to think about what the future might hold, balanced against some of the challenges that Cale outlined. For the work, go ahead.
I think it should be noted that if I could get 100 students in the program, I could place 100 students. I get calls weekly from people all over the Midwest about people needing CNC programmers and machinists.
Yeah, we're only talking about these 3 employers here in Marquette Med Device. The demand across the region is significant. And then real quickly, I'm on the kind of like, there was a bullet in the last slide here. The current capacity for work scholars we're looking at, and this was validated by the employers, it's about 16 a year. 12 to 16 years, so about 6 to 8 per semester. So with that, I think I need to stand up and press play.
Being able to take an idea, draw it in CAD, and then manufacture it, and seeing your part that was initially in your head in real life and having it work is just, to me, it's a great feeling and something I've always loved as a kid. Just getting a set of Legos and finishing the set, it's always a fun feeling. My name's Alex Carpenter. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm in NMU's Mechanical Engineering Technology program. I had a class with Rob Kinney, the Swiss turn machines, and he got me connected with Able for an internship.
The name is Robert Kinney. I work at Able Medical Devices. I'm in production as a manager as well as in technical training. I work at Northern as a special instructor and adjunct professor for the Swiss turning and manufacturing programs. The Work Scholars program is set up to allow students to have multiple avenues for their education so they can work on the job and as well as be in school, or a combination of both. They can get their certificate either on the job or in this classroom.
I think our program at Northern is special because we are in a small town that everybody wants to live in. And we have 3 medical device manufacturers in this small town. And we have a full CNC lab, a full manual machine shop lab. We have a print lab. We have 3D modeling. We have amazing professors. I just think that we have really something special because most of these places are a walk across the street. And we have it all in our back pockets, and we're one tight group that basically we all work together, and it just works really, really well. I find it to be amazing that this is going on in this town. My name is Caleb Polkinghorn. I teach in the Engineering Technology Department at Northern Michigan University, and I've been here for 16 years. Most students who enter my CNC program are working at either Mount Manufacturing, Resolve Medical, or Able Medical before they even graduate. They're usually working there within the first or second semester that they're actually here. It creates somewhat of a problem because they're getting jobs before they graduate, and it makes student schedules hard, but the manufacturers are really good at working with students around their schedules, and it's just really worked out great over the years. But the demand is there. Our graduates, the MET program, I mean, the students are getting jobs immediately.
Kale and Rob have been just two great people. It doesn't even feel like they're teachers to me. It's just like a friend I can go talk to about anything. I mean, they're both great teachers. You can tell that they're passionate about what they're teaching. That just makes you want to be here so much more. It's a nice feeling having like a plan after graduation versus like being kind of unsure of where you'll end up or what you might do. So I'd say it's definitely prepared me for a job after graduation.
The Work Scholars Program is the partnership between Northern as well as Mount Manufacturing, Able Medical, and Resolve. The student can be an intern at any one of the three businesses and earn their certificate.
Chose Northern because I heard it was more hands-on, which I really like, and I think it's important for all engineers to kind of have hands-on experience because the big thing is design for manufacturability, which you might not learn with just math-based courses and not being able to have access to everything like this.
Very nice.
Yeah, we need to give credit to Mike Forrester and Ryan Sullivan and Brooke Whaley in marketing and comms for helping us with that. It's a fun project. Actually got into some pre-production on that. That was a good experience, Mark Chevy. And we're going to be doing a similar story with other students working at Resolve Mount MFG as well. So you'll be seeing more of that. Whoops. There we go. Okay. This is, I don't know if I'm over the tips of my skis on this or not, but these are some ideas that we kick around. How do we take this to the next level? How do we create efficient and meaningful touch points to grow these types of programs with our industry partners? And so I'm actually working right now with a statewide organization that does an Industry 4.0 roadshow, and we've kind of parlayed that conversation into thinking about a manufacturing day at NMU, and potentially that could be an internship fair, a career fair, or a work scholars fair. And we've also talked a little bit about, with our manufacturing partners, of creating an efficient, regular dialogue around growing these types of programs. So the idea of an advisory council has come up as well, because we have many programs, not just with engineering technology in the MET program, but these employers are also hiring accountants and cybersecurity professionals and HR professionals and the like. So we want to make sure that these opportunities are available for other students and other programs at NMU. So with that, this is a little foreshadowing of what we're looking at. Certainly you heard the pilot will launch in the fall. We have some issues to work through. You saw the marketing video right there. That is an authentic story that sells itself. So we're going to work with our K-12 partners to make sure that story is told, and there will be a full campaign on that. We're in some very early discussions, maybe too early, I don't know, about how does this type of program grow into other NMU programs. I could see really good application with cybersecurity, and we've talked about theater and dance. Maybe we've talked about others. So a little bit too soon to discuss what that might look like and how to carry it forward, but that's part of the discussion here today too. So and we're also maybe not hard advocacy, but we're sharing this story with our government officials, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Some of you were at the forum we had in February around the UP 200. So we're going to continue to have this dialogue and highlight it as one of those objectives, one of those recommendations that the Growing Michigan Taylor Council put together, and we're trying to put it into action. So with that, I think we have probably about 5 to 10 minutes for questions.
We're in good shape time-wise, so.
Great presentation. Thank you. Is this, so the Work Scholars Program, is this like the first of its kind that we've seen or had?
At Northern or else, I think
At
other
Northern.
universities, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Nationally, I think there may be some.
I've heard of a couple that are down south. I know
Okay,
that.
but I'm talking more in the northern.
I don't think so. I don't know of any. I know that a lot of times the problems with these programs is you need heavy industry support. If you don't have industry support, this doesn't exist. And that's what we have plenty of with the medical device companies. So I just don't know if they're in the UP that there's really a manufacturing base anywhere else where this exists in the UP. So I think as far as UP wide, this is the first I've heard of it.
Just listening to all of the upside of this, you know, helping us with our curriculum, providing jobs, students are getting paid, they're getting that practical experience. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, you mentioned a couple times, you know, there's challenges, there's things to think about and things to think through. You know, just I encourage you to just harness that creativity. And be brave as we go through these things, because that's what's going to move us forward. And this looks like a fantastic program. So,
Yeah, and I don't think any of the challenges are showstoppers. You know, I think most of the challenges are just challenges that we can get through. So
they're opportunities.
yeah, exactly.
Great, thank you.
President Tessman, do you have anything to add on that?
I think we'll see if the other board members have questions. Maybe I could wrap up with a minute, but
Maybe just one comment. So as you build more interest and you take this on the road, the K-12 partners, so do you anticipate a laddering system where the middle college experience would dovetail right into this?
Yeah. Cale, do you want to take that
Yeah,
one?
I mean-
I've heard this spiel.
So
Yeah.
I feel like the K-12 component is necessary for this because, I mean, we see that certificate and associate degrees across the country, it's not just Northern, they're way down. And so students are either not going to college, they're going into apprenticeship programs right into work, or they're going for a 4-year degree. So I guess that's why there's that gap between, you know, there's the skills gap between the people who are actually getting degrees and what the employers are looking for. And so, like I said, I could place 100 people probably tomorrow. If I really got on the phone to people, I could probably place 100 people, as I get calls daily. And it usually comes down to people aren't interested in the program. And I guess that's what I think is good about this is they can do both. They can work and they can get a degree at the same time. And I think the experience that they get with this is going to be better because these students that go to any one of the medical device places, they're going to be working with a $1.2 million machine sometimes, you know, and at the university, it's pretty tough to keep up with the technology. And so I think that the K-12 component would be really nice because if we could get students in vocationally authorized programs to get monies from the state to actually open up a machine shop for high school students, or whether they use ours, and then we could have them come into the Work Scholars program, I mean, that would be ideal. But the problem is it's really difficult because K-12 has their challenges, and we really would need to leverage our opportunities with K-12 or figure out money from the state to actually fund something like that in Marquette County, which I think is necessary.
There's a big imbalance with supply and demand, obviously, and the opportunity is what you saw with the marketing component, as well as with, you know, I think the next layer of this conversation is with the admissions team and how do we put a strategy together.
Thank you.
You're talking here, you know, about the bachelor's program, but you do have certificate programs also and
So-
associate degree programs?
So this program that we're initially looking at is for the 1 and 2 year program.
Oh, for the 1 and
Yeah,
2.
but
Okay.
here's the way it works is, so we have a certificate, we have an associate's degree, and then we have a minor, and these are all the same animal.
Okay.
And then we have the concentration in the MET degree. So technically, a student could come here for a 1-year degree and finish that, go for the 2-year degree, and then go for the concentration in the MET degree or the IT degree with a minor. And so there's a lot of avenues where people might come here for a 1-year degree and end up with a bachelor's degree. And that happens all the time. I mean, I would say the majority of my certificate students, if they're not going right to work, they go for a bachelor's degree. And a lot of them even go out into industry with a certificate and they end up getting their bachelor's degree. So it's usually they're out.
So this work program though is aimed towards the 1 and 2 year degrees? Is that
Correct.
students?
Yes, to start. You know,
Yes.
in the future, it might be able to grow to something different, but just to pilot this, I think the certificate is
Yeah.
the appropriate.
But what an opportunity for
Yeah.
young people, you know. Come to school, it working's gonna make it more affordable. In 2 years, you can have a pretty good paying.
And what I find, the last thing I just want to say about it is, you know, it's amazing at how many students come to college for a certificate degree, and they don't think they're going to be good in college, and then they get a certificate and they end up loving it, and they stay for a 4-year degree. And what's nice is some of those people, they end up with an MET degree, they do go to the machine to start, but then you know, there's so much upward mobility in each one of those medical device companies, all the way up into design engineering, that, you know, it's just a really good opportunity for any student that goes into it.
Can I just zoom out for larger context? First of all, I mean, the reason this is working is because of the people involved. And I mean, Alex is an outstanding young man, and Kale, Rob, others. I mean, it has taken a lot of problem solving. Dave, you've certainly been driving it forward. There are other programs that are kind of earn while you learn programs. We all know about the apprenticeship track, which is fantastic for a lot of students, but it's not a kind of traditional higher ed track, but that exists. There are campuses around the country who have co-op models where you would actually take a whole year. You'd step away from the university, basically. You're still enrolled, but you're working out in the field full time. And then you come back for another year of study. This kind of blends those approaches because the students are still at Northern. You know, they may be living on campus, they're taking other courses, but they are out in the field working with these medical device partners. So the point of this is not to say we shouldn't be doing our traditional internship programming or that we shouldn't support students who are working part-time. It's that this is a tough nut to crack. We're not the only university that over the last 10, 15 years is really struggling to figure out how to do work-based learning. So instead of just kind of like trying harder, let's try something radically different because we need a different type of solution in order to move the dial. And the most important day for the growth of our local industry partners and for the state when it comes to population growth is graduation day. Okay. Graduation day is important, first of all, because we need to get students to the finish line, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 4 years. So the graduation part's important. It's also this decision day. And the problem is our supply of graduates who are available to be hired, right? You said we could hire 100. Well, we need to get more students through to the finish line, but also we need more students to decide once they have graduated, I want to stay here in Marquette or in the Upper Peninsula or, you know, in Michigan. And in order to do that, having a relationship with an employer, understanding that they're kind of already on track, maybe they're not going to be starting kind of at scratch, from scratch at the employer, it makes a big difference so that they stay here and they don't go to Minneapolis or Green Bay or Grand Rapids or whatever it might be. So this kind of program takes advantage of that moment, that graduation day moment. And I think there are some challenges for sure, but if we talk about our faculty, you know, wanting to sort of have industry relevant curriculum, they do. Sometimes it takes a little refining and more explicit partnership, but that's there. Last thing for our enrollment, this program, I think if we are able to develop it and show it's successful, it's something we can talk about to our K through 12 partners in the area. Wildcat Weekend, Presidential Scholars Weekend. I can't imagine a student or a parent not being excited about the opportunity to make progress towards their degree while also getting experience out in the field with med device manufacturing, cybersecurity, theater and dance, whatever it is. It's so exciting. Kale, thank you, and Dave, thank you very much, and Rob and others who make it possible.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. What we're going to do now is we are going to take a recess while our Academic Affairs Committee meets from 9:15 to 9:45. We will reconvene this meeting at approximately 10 o'clock after that committee is done. So at this point, we will go into recess.
Good morning. I would like to welcome you all to the Board of Trustees Academic Affairs Committee. Present are trustees Greg Toutant, there he is. Trustee Steve Lindberg, ex officio trustee and board chair Steve Young, and ex officio President Brock Tessman. First on our agenda is Dr. Jamie Crabb to give us an academic Senate update.
Good morning. So my role today is to tell you about all the wonderful things that the Academic Senate and the Senate committees have done this year across NMU's campus. So I'm happy to report that all of our Academic Senate actions for the academic year of 2023-2024 have been approved by the provost. Yay. I also want to thank all of the faculty for their valuable commitment and all of the committee's hard work and dedication to making NMU the best. We are the best, by the way. So some of the highlights that I want to talk to you guys about. Some of the reports came in after I had to have my board report in, so just some of the numbers are slightly different. So CUP processed 49 new courses, 103 course changes, 13 course deletions, 4 new programs, 37 program changes, 13 program deletions, and 2 individually created programs. On the flip side, GPC processed 1 new program, 9 program revisions, 2 policy changes, 15 new courses, 31 revised and reinstated courses, deleted 3 courses, and 8 courses were removed from the graduate bulletin. Our Faculty Grants Committee approved awarding 9 faculty research grants, a curriculum development grant, and an instructional improvement grant. The Academic Senate also reviewed the FGC operating procedures. As far as our Admissions and Academic Policy Committee, which is AAPC, they did updates to the BSN admission and retention policy, a posthumous degree policy, which you guys will probably see hopefully this summer. There's just a couple tweaks that have to be made to that, and then updating our speech language hearing sciences policy regarding the number of times that a student can take a course. The Committee on Elections and Committees, CEC, approved 14 faculty replacement positions, and as listed in your board packet, we had multiple Academic Senate visitors, including Trustee Chair Young and Trustee Sepinen and Trustee Lindberg, so thank you guys for attending. I would also want to just point out again that the door is always open. We'd love to have you. If you would like to come and visit the Academic Senate, of course, you arrange it through Kathy. So just by the by. As far as the Senate committees, so I just kind of wanted to highlight what some of the committees had done. And if you guys want this version of it, I will share that with you as well. So in AAPC, there was a delay in processing some of the requests from AAPC because they involved more than one Senate. So we want to look at the workflow and see if we can fix that. There was no formal request form for AAPC, and we're hoping to change that process, so that will speed the process up. CEC I've already addressed. As far as the Committee on Internationalization, they identified concerns over international students and faculty to include transportation, housing, and specialized orientation. We do have the Provost Fellow, Veronica Cusack, who is working on the orientation process, and hopefully that will help fix some of those issues. And then there was also changes to tuition costs for Canadian students as well, which helps. They're very close to us, so they should come here. As far as the Committee on Undergraduate Programs, they had a really heavy workload this year, and they plan on having an educational event for those submitting the CUP reports because that was one of the biggest delays in processing their information. As far as ETRPC, which is our educational technology, they reviewed Student Technology Innovation Award applicants and made recommendations to the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. They provided feedback and tested the new laptops. and they help to facilitate Campus Ready for the new My NMU interface. The faculty grants, again, they process reassigned time awards and the grants that were listed before, including the Spooner grant, and reviewed the Peter White Scholar Award applicants. In the General Ed Committee, they approved 19 courses for the varying components of Gen Ed. They're working on an assessor option for our Gen Ed programs, and that will start this summer. So we're really hoping that that goes off without a hitch, along with they met with departments and faculty across campus to try to talk about what their biggest concerns were with Gen Ed. The Graduate Program Committee reviewed 42 applications for graduate faculty status. They reviewed and recommended 35 excellence in education proposals. The one thing that I do want you guys to know is that the number of qualified applicants for these grants or proposals has increased in number, but our number of our ability to award has not increased. So just food for thought in the back of your mind. The Honor Board Committee, so they looked at the honor program instruction. They evaluated the alignment of the honor program with the NCHC shared principles and practices of honor education. They monitored the student data who are in the honors program, and they added 3 honor courses and are looking at development of upcoming course offerings to make sure that they're general enough to hopefully incite others. As far as Library Instructional Advisory Council, they looked at the acquisition budget, which is finally returning to the pre-COVID level, which is fantastic. They reviewed open education resources and provided some presentations to faculty related to open educational resources. They discussed the Hardin Hall renovations. They looked at the controlled digital lending, and one thing of note is that they are putting those things that are course resources as a priority so that they get those processed for the faculty. We're super appreciative of that. And you guys will hear about Uplink, but congratulations to the NMU Archives for receiving a $25,000 Library Services and Technology Act grant. So thank you, Marcus. And then Teaching and Learning Advisory Council, so they reviewed and revised the peer observation process in conjunction with our Center for Teaching and Learning. It's interesting that we have evolved so much that there is not a specific training program for our peer observation, and so we want to get that in place. And Dr. Sarah Potter is working on that potentially over the summer. They reviewed and awarded 9 $1,500 grants for conferences this year, and the members also served on the award selection committee. One thing that hindered them a little bit was the lack of a CTL scholar because Wendy Farkas had retired. So we definitely want to get that position fixed and filled. As far as next year's Senate, so apparently I did an okay job because they voted me back in as chair. Hugo will be vice chair. Eric Autumn is going to be secretary. Members at large will be David Bowe, Tim Compton, and Ruth Rotry. David Bowe will be our parliamentarian again, and other members on our committee for Senate Exec include Provost Stellman and also Rick Mengen, our AAUP president. Things that are on the horizon for this next year. So I've already been discussing with Dana Hinckley about the grief policy. As we were waiting for platform rehearsal, we were discussing that. So hopefully we can make some headway over the summer with that and then get to the point that early in the academic year we're able to introduce that. We did encounter some sticky points, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. A lot of it relates to the process of how we process our new programs and curricular changes. So we are really working hard this year to hopefully address some of that so that we don't have those issues. We also are really going to push the faculty and campus to embrace the 125th anniversary of Northern. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you guys for the wage adjustment for the AAUP AFT 6761. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
Perhaps just maybe a comment. I'm still a little bit new to the academic senate process. You guys cover a lot of information. Is there normally more competition for adding new courses than taking courses away?
So the biggest thing I would say for that is it's not so much as a competition as looking at what's feasibility of what we have in the department and the course offerings, what our students need, what are the trends in enrollment and the trends in the workforce itself. So we try to be conscious about that, and so if we're not doing those courses anymore, we work to clear up the bulletin, make it function better.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Crabb. We really appreciate all the work you and the Senate do.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Dr. Casey Holder, who is going to give us a charter schools update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today, I am bringing forth some recommendations for 4 schools. So the first thing on my agenda is to discuss those 4 schools really quickly and give you some insights on my recommendations. So the first 2 schools, East Shore Leadership and Francis Ray Academy, I'm recommending for 5-year contracts. Both of them I have no concerns on. In fact, Francis Ray Academy has done a substantially effective job with a lot of chronically absent students. Over 60% of their student population is chronically absent, meaning they're missing up to 10% of the school year. So that's like taking every other Friday off. And so they've done a really nice job with that. The other 2 schools, George Crockett Academy and North Star Montessori, recommending for 2+3 contracts. That's a normal practice that we've done historically. Basically, a safe holder for a couple of stipulations just to make sure things get put in line and then just extend the contract. George Crockett is a very simple one. The Michigan Department of Ed is transitioning into a more hard line on requiring a certificate of occupancy. They have always allowed for a continuous use letter, and George Crockett has a continuous use letter. So we're going to require them within the next 2 years to get that certificate of occupancy. North Star Montessori's school is going through a lot of changes. They have decided to drop their high school in the last month. They are also hiring a new management company. And so we're moving forward with saying, let's take 2 years to just kind of make sure everything flattens out and mellows out, and then it would be an extension for the 3. So it's not a concern by any means, but it's just a time to let them really identify the next steps. So bringing those recommendations forward, can I answer any questions?
Perhaps one question. It seems like the North Star is leaning into their strength area with the K-8.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. The building, if you haven't been there, it feels like a K-8, and so I would agree. They're leaning into that, and they have an opportunity to really focus on the Montessori, which they have struggled with the identity of the high school for years. And so they've served many, many high school students really, really well, but their declining enrollment in the high school made it harder and harder to maintain the consistent programs. So that was a very difficult decision they made just this last month.
Any other questions? I think we need oh, go ahead, Steve, sorry.
Explain the difference, certificate of occupancy and what was the other one?
So the continuous use was a letter that, and to the black and white differences, I'm not, I can give you the big picture.
Okay.
So the big picture difference is that when charter schools went into effect, many of them purchased existing buildings that were already certified to have occupants. And so at that time, they, meaning the Michigan Department of Ed, were allowing for just a continuous use rather than having the building go through all of the inspections that would be required for a certificate of occupancy. So the building, the electrical, the plumbing, the heating, et cetera. We do require, all of those are required. It's just this little form that is different. So the continuous use, and the one school, George Crockett, has been in continuous use for many, many years. So it makes sense that they update that and make sure all of those boilers and all of that have the proper inspections done. So I believe it's just kind of a formality in terms of the differences of the actual processes to get that stamp.
Thank you.
I think we vote now
Yes.
on those? Okay. So I need a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of East Shore Leadership Academy, Public Schools Academy for a term of 5 years from July 1st, 2004 to June 30th, 2009. And these are going to be part of the formal recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I also, we have 4 here, so I need a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of Francis Ray Academy Public School Academy for a term of 5 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2029.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of George Crockett Academy, Public School Academy for an initial term of 2 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026, with an opportunity to add not more than 3 additional years upon satisfying contractual obligations as established by the CSO Director. If all criteria set forth of the contract are met, the contract will be automatically extended for the additional 3 years through June 30th, 2029.
So moved.
Thank you, Greg.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. I need a motion and a second to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of the North Star Montessori Academy Public School Academy for an initial term of 2 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026, with an opportunity to add not more than 3 additional years upon satisfying contractual obligations as established by the CSO Director. If all criteria set forth in the contract are met, the contract will automatically extend for the additional 3 years through June 30th, 2029.
So moved.
Thank you, Greg.
Second.
Thank you. So you have some more for us,
So a
Casey?
couple more things, sure. So we also have board appointments and reappointments. And so on the bottom of the first page of the memo that was in your packet, it lists the 9 schools, and only 2 schools have new board members. So Francis Ray Public School Academy has a new board, and he's actually a returning board member. So he was an excellent board member that stepped away for a few years and now has come back on, Jimmy Green. And then Natawash has a new board member. And so I'm bringing those forward for your approval.
Okay. So I need a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Trustees the approval of the following new charter school board appointments: Francis Ray Public School Academy, Jimmy Green through June 30th, 2027, and the Natawash Public School Academy, Tessa Keshik through June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. That's all you need?
Oh, and lastly,
Do you have
I just-
anything
I
else for us?
I included in your information packet just 2 quick things. So we are updating our performance framework. I'll be informing you a little bit more about that in September, but definitely in the December meeting, you'll get to see that as part of the packet. There's nothing majorly changing from our existing one. It just had our overarching authorizing group has revised theirs, and so we're kind of revising ours. Lastly, I did provide 2 links. Charter schools are very political. I just wanted to remind you all that they are. Our current State Board of Education has created a resolution that gained some momentum in terms of one side of the argument about charter schools. So I provided you with a link to some charter school myths and facts by our own State Association of Charter Schools. And so there are claims that the charter schools don't follow Open Meetings Act or that they need to follow laws. All of our schools follow Open Meetings Act. We all follow the laws, just like all traditional. So that was just an update, and provided you a couple of links if you wanted to dig deeper into that. Any other questions I could answer?
Maybe just a vision question. Do we see Northern growing their oversight over more charter schools, or do we see it pulling back a little bit? Just trying to get the temperature of the next few years.
Absolutely. And so the state as a whole is kind of in a holding pattern because of that political shift. we were, as a whole, in a grow charter schools, the number of charter schools. And so due to the political shift, it is kind of controversial whether the state will either apply for the federal grant program that is actually enables schools to apply to become schools. So at the state level, we're kind of holding back. Our position, historically, we've had these 9 schools for 10 years now. And so we're in kind of a holding pattern unless there was a directive to me to seek to grow. So that would be a conversation that the Board of Trustees would enact on and tell me to try to do. My 2 cents is that there are pockets of places that potentially you could grow, but like I said, the state is really in a holding pattern to wait and see what happens with the political landscape.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Good information.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Steve Vandenhoven, Dean of the College of Technology and Occupational Sciences, to give us a presentation on a new program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the proposed certificate in front of you is in cannabis agriculture. I gave a slide on a little background, if you recall, following up on the success of the medicinal plant chemistry program. We thought it would be a good idea to sort of leverage the popularity of that program and build out a portfolio of cannabis-related programs. And you can see, some of them listed up here. We started out with a couple of certificates, one in cannabis operations and the other in plant-based wellness. And then combined those certificates into an associate degree by adding some gen eds. And then we also have a partnership with a non-credit education provider called Greenflower that has actually been very successful in feeding into some of our programs students who decide that they dip their toe in the non-credit realm and then wanted a credit credential. It's really consistent with the governor's 60 by 30 campaign. The 60 by 30 campaign wants 60% of adults, of Michigan residents who can have a credential to have one by 2030. That could be a credit credential or a non-credit credential. So the system that we set up is to build out the portfolio based or both on the credit and non-credit side. This is the next step in building out the credit side credentials related to cannabis operations. And we've been working very recently on a website that's going to have all of the cannabis-related academic programs on the website, so that it's kind of a one-stop shop. Again, to leverage the popularity of medicinal plant chemistry and become known, at least in Michigan and the upper Midwest, as a place that has cannabis-related education at all different levels and from all different angles, ranging from something like agriculture or retail to analytical chemistry degree. So this is the next step in that process. The credentials that we've launched so far have been very successful, not only at retaining students who have decided once they get here that analytical chemistry might not be their thing, but still want to work in the cannabis industry, but also attracting brand new students straight from, as incoming students, incoming freshmen. Again, this is a build-out of the plan all along. The first 2 certificates were added into an associate's degree, and our goal since the beginning was to build out a bachelor's degree relating to applied work in the cannabis industry. So the first 2 certificates were really focused on more of the retail end, and now we're moving, up the supply chain or to agriculture. So we plan on adding, hopefully this one will be approved, we'll add this one, and then there'll be one more And then we'll be ready to launch hopefully a bachelor's degree. We're hoping it will come before you this time next year to start in the fall of 2025. It will be a combination of the 4 certificates that we have in cannabis-related programming, all online. As you know, the Global Campus runs a cost recovery model, so these are self-supporting, and they're pretty easy to sunset. The last bullet point I should mention, the research that we do, we have 2 major databases that we subscribe to assess market labor statistics and student demand and competitive environment for all of our programs. It's hard to get accurate information out of those because there's no zip codes for cannabis related. So we end up, doing the best we can and equating it to careers in agriculture or careers in retail or sales. So the numbers aren't really strong in terms of student demand, but that's a systematic and a definitional problem. It's not a problem of actual demand. This is what the course selection is going to look like in the bulletin. Like the other certificates, 16 credits. And that's it.
So this certificate, these credits then, can they be applied if they want to go on?
Oh, absolutely.
Bachelor's? Okay,
Yep.
figured that.
The whole system is meant to ladder. So you can start out with a certificate and then add another one, and then you're at an associate's degree, and then you add another certificate, and before you know it, you're at a bachelor's degree.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I just, again, the grade database, does it tell us anything about our students getting jobs once they, get their certificates or finish this program?
The grade database doesn't, no. We're trying to track that as much as we can. It's a little bit more difficult with online students because you don't really see them very often. But we're doing the best we can to stay in touch with students and have them report back to us what they're doing. In fact, we're going to have to, for certificates in the future because of changes in some gainful employment rules.
Do you have a sense of?
Oh yeah, they are. A lot of them are. A lot of the students who are taking the courses are all full. We don't have hundreds of majors in the associate degree, but we do have the courses are full. So a lot of our on-campus students are taking the courses, and some of them are taking the certificates. The way our system is set up, though, when you count majors, it will list them as an on-campus major, and it won't list them as pursuing the certificate, but they're pursuing the certificate. So, and a lot of those students are getting jobs locally.
Do you have a sense as to what % of our graduates or certificate, get a job in the field?
Right now, I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so I need a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of the following program. Cannabis Agriculture Certificate. The new program is effective fall of 2024, and this motion is also part of the formals.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have to vote on this, which we didn't do with the other ones. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So,
Retroactive aye to all the.
so do we go back?
Yeah, a retroactive approval by the committee
Okay.
for all the pending motions is fine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so we need a vote,
A retroactive.
a retroactive vote on the motions for the 4 charter schools and the 2 board members for the charter schools. So all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Motions carried retroactively.
Super.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Oh, next we have Professor Marcus Robbins, and he is going to tell us about Uplink.
I
hope you don't mind. I'm going to be standing up. I am way too excited to be sitting down. I am not your typical archivist. I've got too much energy, and I've got some handouts. Take one and pass it around. How does this thing work? Does anybody? Just the right arrow? The right arrow? Yeah.
All right, thanks.
This is a banner week. This has been a banner 2 weeks for the archives. Last week we had a wonderful visit by Dr. and Mrs. Tessman. It was the first time that a president has visited the archives since John Jamrich. So we were very excited about that. And this week I get to talk to you guys, to all of you, which is the first time I've done that in 25 years. So this is a very big day for us. Thank you very much and good morning. And thank you again for letting me be here today to talk about this great new program called Uplink. It stands for, if you're thinking, wondering, Upper Peninsula Digital Network, and you can see we've underlined where the letters come from for the acronym. It actually came from my former senior student assistant, John Sullivan, who is now a Michigan State police officer. He came up with the name. So what is Uplink? Uplink is a consortium of heritage organizations in the Upper Peninsula, and we define heritage organizations as museums, archives, libraries, public libraries, and heritage or historical societies like the Marquette Regional History Center, which is a member of Uplink. And it is designed to identify, process, or prepare, and then digitize historical manuscript collections that are being maintained by these small heritage organizations around the Upper Peninsula. I am convinced in my 27 years here in the Upper Peninsula and Northern that most of our documentary heritage in the United States exists in these small heritage organizations. However, they are struggling because they have limited funds, almost shoestring budgets, and they are not professionals, not professional librarians, not professional archivists, not professional museumologists like Dan Truckee, for example. And so our job is to try to leverage, however, their skills that they do have. Most of them are retired folks, and they come from decades of professional work, and they bring with them a lot of skills that they can use in doing this. And so we're trying to leverage those skills with what we can provide as far as professional guidance and consultation, plus the logistics of our equipment and our digitization center. It's governed by a board of directors, 5 of which are members of heritage organizations. There are 3 permanent members, myself, and then representatives from LSSU and MTU. This is also a collaborative project between those 2 schools. Both of those schools right now are working to become service hubs of Uplink. We maintain an annual membership of this. We're actually replacing an old informal organization called the Northland Consortium, which was a representative organization of the UP heritage organizations, but it went defunct about 10 years ago, and now we're replacing that with our annual membership meeting. Right now, Uplink has 86,000 items, historical research material or historical manuscript material, representing 163 collections from 25 organizations. This picture is really great. This is John Edwards. He's actually from Newton Township, which is near Engadine. He was the fellow who called me in 2017, I believe, asking me if anyone would be interested in doing research on historical records they had. I said I didn't think so, but would they be willing to donate them? He said, no, we want to keep them. And I thought to myself after the phone conversation, what would happen if I had said to him, would you like to loan us that material? Because it was a really good 19th century business collection of business records. And we would digitize that, make it available online, do all the metadata, bibliographic control stuff, and you can have that collection back for your museum. But then everybody around the world would be able to access that information. I wrote down his name and contact information, but I lost it, and I forgot who it was and who he represented. And he showed up one day because they are now members of Uplink. And here he was. He said, I told him the story, and he said, oh, that was me. And I was like, wow, okay, great. And here gives you good representation of the membership of Uplink. You can see we've done a pretty good job geographically. We're not sure why everybody is around the edges of the UP, but some of the significant organizations that now belong to Uplink are the Keweenaw Bay Indian community, which is a big deal because we need to do a much better job in addressing documentation of marginalized groups in the region. Also, the Finnish American Heritage Center is now a member of Uplink. And that's why we're very excited about Dr. Dahlman being here, because she is Finnish, and we have collections that need to be transcribed, and I've already asked her if she'd be interested in volunteering, but I don't think she has the time.
Sign me up.
But this gives you a good idea of the distribution. Now, this didn't happen out of the blue. It happened because we got a lot of grant support, starting with an NMU faculty grant, research grant, that allowed me to spend the entire summer of 2019 visiting several days all of the heritage organizations around and doing a survey of the collections that they did have. And with that data, we were able to get an NHPRC planning grant in 2019, which allowed me to bring together professionals from all over the UP to crunch all that data that I collected. And the NHPRC stands for National Historical Publications and Records Commission of the National Archives. It is a great program. It needs to be continued to be funding. I would not literally be standing here today without the NHPRC. It was, we got grant funding in 1992 to establish the Northern Archives and from the NHPRC. The Michigan Council for the Humanities provided us $8,000 for a community digitization program, which I'll show you a picture of in a moment. And right now, as been mentioned, we have a $25,000 Summer Institute grant that will allow us to do a major professional development program, training program this summer for K through 12 teachers in the Upper Peninsula. I'll be mentioning that in a little bit more. However, I wanted to point out again the $100,000 grant that we got from them to actually implement the Uplink project. And as a result of all this, we're actually starting to get donations to the foundation, which is really remarkable. Now, $3,200 is small, and stunningly, I forgot to add the $25,000 that we got from anonymous donors related to Uplink and our other work. So we're actually starting to bring donations in, which is really stunning for us. Here are some of the significant collections that are on Uplink. We have a great collection of UP military stories that we have been collecting. Yesterday, I just received another collection of letters written by a former soldier to his wife. We have the John Volker papers. As you're all familiar with John Volker, we've begun digitizing that collection. George Shiras, you're all familiar with him as well. In fact, a number of books have already been written based on that collection. This is a good example. The Copper Company Range Records is a good example of what Uplink is about. There is a volunteer there. His name is Vince. He was a retired engineer, and he took it upon himself to digitize all of this material, but they didn't know what to do with the digital material that they had once they digitized it, because they didn't have a web space, and that went to Uplink. And here you can see this is the public page of Uplink. That is actually going to change very dramatically. We're in the process right now of migrating to a new platform, which will greatly improve the appearance and the accessibility of the material. If you have a chance, please check out the Georgia Rhodes papers. These are all links that you should be able to get to from the presentation. Georgia Rhodes was a young woman who in 1939 bicycled with a friend all over Europe on the eve of World War II. And there is a From the Stacks public video that we do about our collections that are all student-produced, researched, and written about this. And if you get a chance, you'll find it fascinating. It's a really great story. And then, of course, the Upper Peninsula Oral History Collection, which, thanks to Dr. Russ Minyagi, is probably the largest oral history collection in the Midwest that is available online. So we do a lot of community educational training and outreach. I mentioned the Community Digitization Workshop. This is Annika Peterson. She's our digital project manager. She is the backbone of Uplink. I may have come up with the idea, I may have gotten the grant funding, but it is Annika that is making this work. And right now she's on a temporary appointment, her third year. We would really like to get her permanent so that we can continue, because I simply cannot continue this project without her. This is our collection management assistant, Sam Heinonen. And you're seeing them at the Ontonagon Historical Society in Ontonagon. They're doing a community digitization workshop, which was funded by the Michigan Humanities Council. And right next to that is our quarterly newsletter that is produced. Everything that the archives produces that is outreach related or written is done by our student assistants. The newsletter, from the Stacks video program, everything we do, the UP History Moment is all written, produced, and designed by students that work in the archives. Current projects and a reorientation of the direction. So I mentioned the Information Literacy and Leadership Institute. This is a collaborative project between the archives, the library, the history department, English, School of Education, and EAGS. And what it involves is a program where we're bringing on campus for 4 days, 4 K through 12 public school teachers, and we'll be doing instruction and training on critical information literacy, but also primary source literacy. The participants will be creating content, lesson plans, and other materials, which then will become part of a major resource website or portal for instruction in primary source and critical information literacy. So these public school teachers are coming here, they're going to get this training, and we're hoping they're going to go out and spread the word further among all of the public school teachers in the UP. My colleague, Mara Bridger-Wilson, and I will take the data and information we learned from this institute and put it into a proposal for a critical information primary source literacy class that I'm hoping will eventually develop into possibly a certificate program in critical information literacy. I need to mention that Kel Sassi in English is one of the collaborators for the Institute, and she has done a tremendous job and has reintroduced the National Writing Project to Northern, and the National Writing Project will also be an integral part of the Institute. The UP History Moment is going to be a 5-minute weekly program in collaboration with Public Radio 90. My senior student assistant, Erin O'Toole, is coordinating this project. All of my student assistants are doing research and writing scripts for it. It's replacing a statewide Historical Society of Michigan History Moment, but it's just going to be focused on the UP, and it will appear once a week. From the Stacks, if you get a chance, please watch that. That's another one that's produced, written, and hosted by student assistants. Quill Ronning from Art and Design just recently did a fantastic program on the Georgia Rhodes collection. And then finally, the Michigan Digital Preservation Network. I am on the advisory governance committee for that. This is, I'm not going to go into the details of the technical part of it, but this is a statewide initiative to create a what's called a Open Archives Information Systems modeled preservation system for digital records, both born digital and digitized, that can be preserved for decades over time, curated, and ensure that 100 years from now, the information that we have digitally will be accessible and authentic. And we are now, NMU is now a node of that system, and we'll be administrating it through the archives. All archival or records at Northern that have been designated as permanent, that are digital or electronic, will be part of that system. Pending projects. Now, much of what we were doing, oh, by the way, this is a class in the archives. This is Native American Studies 488 and HS 336, which did a collaborative research project. So the Institute and everything that we do in the archives is all centered around active learning and in-class projects on critical thinking and primary source critical thinking. Pending developments. I want to reorient Uplink back towards campus. We've done a good job in the region now, but I want to reorient it back towards campus and then focus on developing curriculum, but also opportunities for students. I'd like to work more closely with the history department and their field experience program to develop what I'm calling right now a rapid archives response team. This would be a staff member for, oh, I got a cut. I'm running out of time, sorry. And finally, we won a bunch of two awards, major awards, from the History Center and the Superior Award from the Historical Society of Michigan. And that's it. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
So if we want any history on the UP, this is where we go?
right.
Okay.
Right.
Do we have any questions?
Or of Northern, for example,
yeah.
you know, Dr. Kapla the other day called me and needed to know when the counseling psych program started, and we were able to find that out for him. So it's not just the UP, but it's also Northern. Yeah.
That's great.
Great information. Yeah.
Yep.
To get to that, to the Georgia Roads collection, you just go to the uplink at NMU?
Yeah, and just search Georgia Roads.
Okay.
The way the system works is that each heritage organization that's a member of Uplink has their own website, web page. It's a landing page, so all their collections stay together according to them. So you can find it. The Georgia Roads papers came from the St. Ignace Public Library.
This is great. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Very good.
Marcus?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, another question?
Yes. How many students are, under
right
your?
now we have 4 student assistants that are dedicated and assigned to Annika to work on the project. We call them digitization specialists. They get training in basic digitization, plus also creating metadata for the collections that we digitize.
Do they get credit for that?
No, it's they're just working for
Do
it.
they get paid for that?
They get paid for it, yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, I'm thanking Dr. Kordich and Dr. Minyagi. They've given us some money this summer to maintain our student assistants working on the project.
Nice.
Thank you.
And by the way, Mr. Lindberg, I need your papers for when you were state representative.
We'll talk about that.
Talk about that.
They're sealed in a vault.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you
a great
again.
presentation.
Yes, great. Thank you.
And I believe that's it. So I would like to adjourn the meeting of the Academic Affairs Committee.
Thank you.
At
Okay, I'd like to reconvene this meeting of the NMU Board of Trustees, and we are now on item 16, which are individual requests to address the board. And Secretary Andrew, do we have any requests to address the board?
We do. We have 5 people who would like to address the board. I'm going to remind each of you that you have 3 minutes for your comments. First up is Tyler Thompson, President, Top Union.
Welcome, Tyler.
All right, I will keep this short and sweet so I don't take up too much of your valuable time. Good morning, esteemed members of the board, President Tessman, and members of the senior administrative team. I am here today to applaud the recent successful efforts to work with leaders of AAUP and pass the MOU showing significant interest in the investment of employees. We are lucky to have an employee base here at NMU that is heavily invested in the well-being and smooth operation of our campus and community. To see that investment reciprocated is meaningful in many, many ways. For a while, this focus has been to invest heavily in new infrastructure projects to keep us current with our peer institutions and the reason we are all here, the students. These are fine things to focus on, as we would not be operational without our buildings and our students. However, we also cannot remain without dedicated faculty and staff. The turn of focus on investment to now include employees is encouraging and appreciated. I've spoken with Rick M. from AUP, as have the other union leaders, and we have seen how grateful he is to have worked with all of you to make the AUP MOU a possibility. I and the TOP union are appreciative of this effort and also look forward to working with you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Andy Hill from the AP Union.
Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, everyone. A little bigger crowd since the last time I spoke in front of you. So, to the members of the NMU Board of Trustees, President Tessman, university leaders, thank you for this opportunity to share my comments today as a UAW 2178 representative and staff employee. First, I'd like to take this moment to announce that Dave Wiegand has been elected as our local's president during April's general membership meeting. Dave, a building services supervisor of NMU facilities, will lead our local until 2027. He will serve our union effectively and collaborate constructively with both you and the administration. Dave is standing in the back there in the other room. Lindsay Hakala, too, is also joining us. She will be our new vice president. When our membership approved a 5-year contract, we made substantial concessions with the hope that the contract would provide the university with the necessary time to stabilize itself amidst uncertain circumstances. And since then, we have been observing investment decisions by the board and the administration to point NMU in the right direction. Securing new leadership, hiring Dr. Testman, Dr. Dahlman, and Dr. Campbell. Significant investments in facilities and renovation projects like the Jacob Enny Center and now Hardin Hall. Leadership changes and promotion of upper administration as part of the university's alignment plan. And expanded resources and services for our students like the Wellbeing Center. And as we stand here on the outside, this period has also renewed feelings of hope. We are hopeful because the budget is in a good position and that enrollment is up. We are hopeful because the board and the administration recently chose to invest back in the salaries of our faculty. We are hopeful because now we can begin looking at meaningful ways to help all TOP, ASME, and AUW staff employees. Advocating for our faculty members marks a positive point in changing the course, and we eagerly anticipate engaging in similar discussions with you. We are the university's administrative professionals, joining together with our TOP and ASME union sisters and brothers who are deeply committed to NMU and who are devoted to our student success. We remain steadfast, we haven't quit, we haven't walked out. Despite unprecedented challenges created by inflation, we still stand together in solidarity. Thank you for your investment in our faculty. Thank you for your continued service, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Andy.
Next is Ms. Cheryl Jobin.
Welcome, Cheryl. Come on up front.
I'm here to talk about a problem that's been a problem at Northern for many, many years. So many of you who've been around as a trustee for a while, you have probably heard it before. It's parking. Student parking continues to be a problem at the university. I've heard all kinds of things while I have been investigating certain things. First, I thought, oh, well, how about since the foundation owns this property over here that had a parking deck, oh, wouldn't that be nice? So close to Northern. I worked at the hospital for many years, and I also went to NMU between 77 and 81. I love my alma mater. I love the students that go here. My father went here back in the 50s. Well, there weren't many cars to park back then. He took the ferry over from Alpena to come to Northern. So, you know, needless to say, he didn't have a car to park. He must have had to take the bus or the train from the bridge. I'm really not sure. I didn't ask him that. So anyway, now I have 2 granddaughters who have gone to NMU, graduated, and one is a nurse over at the hospital. The other's an audiologist downstate in Jackson. And I asked them about the parking issues they had. Well, they had many parking issues as well. By the time you could find a parking place, you would be late for your class. I had that same thing happen. Although, for part of my time at Northern, I lived in married student housing over on Center Street. I didn't have a problem at all then. I could just walk. Well, one of the people I've talked to, I was getting very discouraged because they would say, there's enough parking on campus. Students just don't want to walk. And, okay, I would probably want to be closer, if I could too, to where I go to my classes. Well, It's, I have been one of those people who's in the parking lot waiting for the class before me to get out so I could get into a parking place. And I was even late for class a few times once I moved off campus. I also had a 2-year-old child when I started here at Northern. I had to get that child to daycare, so I couldn't walk. I had to get her there and then get here. So commuter students have a lot of issues with parking, and I feel for them. And you got to remember, some of these students come from miles and miles away. They come from Escanaba. They come from Newberry to come to school. Well, of course, they're going to have a spot all day because they're not going to go home between classes, right? So they're going to go to the library and study. It's time now? Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for listening, and I really hope that some of these issues can be solved. If perhaps the foundation maybe could even just make a parking lot over here where that was, maybe that would help the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Next is Sabrina Mata.
Welcome, Sabrina, and come on up front.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sabrina Mata. I am a medicinal plant chemistry major and a McNair Scholar. I come to present an issue that is near the hearts of many of my peers and faculty that I work with in the Department of Chemistry. The full-time term contract for Dr. Ryan Fornwald has not been renewed for this upcoming fall, and we are extremely disappointed. Dr. Fornwald is an assistant professor who has created new synthetic chemistry courses that satisfy the elective requirements for medicinal plant chemistry and ACS chemistry majors. Most notably, he has created relevant special topics courses the past 2 semesters and is offering another in this upcoming fall semester. The natural product synthesis course he has offered this school year and his guidance over the past couple of years has significantly impacted the lives of many students and our futures. It is also worth noting that the chemistry of drug design course he is offering this fall has 23 students enrolled in 2 lab sections, demonstrating the continued interest in the topics he covers. Although this is currently a special topics course, the plan is to submit a proposal to make it a permanent offering. Dr. Fornwald's demotion to part-time has left many students deeply upset this week because this affects the future of Northern and its prospective students. Dr. Fornwald and his spouse, Dr. Maris Chinelli, have been working on a proposal for a 4+1 program for medicinal chemistry and pharmacognosy that will have a drug discovery, drug synthesis, and pharmacognosy emphasis. This program has the support of the Dean of the College of Pharmacy at the University of Michigan and will provide a pathway to graduate school for students. I understand that this year the board has stated that accelerated master's programs like 4+1s are desired, that faculty members are looked upon to do the programming, and there is a focus on generating more revenue. A decision such as letting Dr. Fornwald's contract expire contradicts this vision. Many medicinal plant chemistry students have declared strong interest in this proposed program. Therefore, I'm asking why Dr. Fornwald's full-time contract was not renewed this fall despite the immense contributions he wishes to continue making to this university and to future students' educations. I've asked many within the administration and have received a response that it is due to enrollment and that the university wants to save money. However, many prospective students across the country have not made a decision yet due to the FAFSA this year, so why make such a life-altering decision as this one already? The graduating students who have heard about this have directly stated to me that even if they had the chance, they would not donate to Northern, considering how Dr. Fornwald and also Dr. Chinelli, who are alumni of Northern, are being treated even though they are some of the best professors in the College of Arts and Sciences. It is incredulous that a course with such advanced material is going to be taught by a part-time professor, not being paid a living wage this fall, especially when it is such a privilege to be taught by an organic chemistry genius such as Dr. Fornwald. We demand that Ryan be given another contract because he will continue to teach advanced and innovative courses that will provide retention, recruitment, and student competitiveness in the job market. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Who's next, Kathy?
Michael Kugel.
Come on up, Michael. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Michael Kugel, and I would like to start by thanking you for this opportunity to speak. I am a student, research assistant, employee, and officer of 3 student organizations here at Northern. One of these organizations, the Chemistry Lounge, has seen me tutoring my peers in organic chemistry at no cost, simply out of passion. This passion comes from the inspiration of one man, Dr. Ryan Fornwald. Through the Chemistry Lounge, Dr. Fornwald came in every Sunday to teach us this subject. Then, through his special topics course, Natural Products Chemistry, he successfully taught us the skills of critical thinking and the value of learning through teaching. It has recently come to my attention that Dr. Fornwald's term contract has not been renewed, effectively demoting him to an adjunct, hindering his continued advocacy of students' education. With the immense inspiration and knowledge he has shared with me, I felt personally compelled to advocate for someone that is not only a mentor in my life, but also a close friend. With 2 semesters and over 30 students, his special topics course was not a required course for any program. Despite this, it was able to effectively pay for itself. At the lowest possible estimate, his classes garnered over $50,000 in revenue for the school and potentially generated upwards of $100,000, not even taking the lab and natural sciences fee into account. I believe this has more than earned his salary. I believe that an investment into Dr. Fornwald is an investment into Northern. Northern has gained a lot of notoriety through the medicinal plant chemistry program, so much so that you decided to invest $2 million into a state-of-the-art extractions and analysis lab. Due to a multitude of factors, including a lack of advertising and nationwide problems with FAFSA, this program is seeing a massive decrease in enrollment. As a student, it seems as if Northern has resorted to cutting around the edges of the chemistry department instead of recruiting students, effectively giving up on the $2 million investment. Due to the financial strain this pay cut will have on Dr. Fornwald and his wife, Dr. Maris Cinelli, me and my peers are concerned that this could lead to their departure to another university in the imminent future. Dr. Cinelli's guidance and instruction of the junior and senior medicinal plant chemistry courses is imperative, and without her, a large portion of the hard skills that make this program so valuable will be lost. They have invested their time into proposing the first of its kind medicinal chemistry and pharmacognosy program. Their proposed program could provide a massive revenue stream to the school, utilizing resources already at the school's disposal. The Medicinal Plant Chemistry Club has collected letters of intent from students showing our support, which are now in President Tessman and Graduate Dean Dr. Eckert's hands. Dr. Fornwald and Dr. Cinelli, as previous students at Northern, stand as an important example of how NMU treats their alumni. This disrespect sets a precedent that will disincentivize generosity from future alumni such as myself and my peers. Without the backing of the university, they can only do so much. It is only a matter of time till competing universities begin to notice them and their amazing work. I love Northern, not just for the amazing faculty, but also the community of dedicated students and administration. We would all be losing pillars of our community if we lost these amazing people. I hope that you may help me and my peers in advocating for Dr. Fornwald's financial well-being and the future of Northern by reinstating his term contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that comments during the public comment section. We will now go on to item 7, which is the introduction of our commencement speakers, and I will call on Provost Dahlman, Dr. Dahlman, to introduce our student commencement speaker.
Chair Young, members of the Board of Trustees, and President Tessman. One of the special components of tomorrow's graduation ceremony is the student speaker's commencement address. I am pleased to introduce the student who was selected to address the graduates tomorrow, Grace Cook. Congratulations. Grace came to NMU from Memphis, Michigan in the fall of 2021. She will graduate magna cum laude tomorrow with a degree in elementary education, integrated science, with a minor in photography. Grace is very involved in a campus ministry group affiliated with Redeemer Lutheran Church in Marquette. She also started a student organization, Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Awareness. This group has connected with the Marquette Women's Center and the NMU Wellness Center to increase access to mental and physical health supports for students who have experienced sexual violence and stalking. Grace and a fellow student gave a presentation in early April at the Association for Advancing Quality in Education Preparation Quality Assurance Symposium in Orlando, entitled Fostering Community with High School Students, Future Educator Summer Campus as a Recruitment Tool. Grace started a wedding photography business while in high school. This led to other opportunities. She photographed the Red Wings alumni game at the Berry, organized photographers, and took photos at the UP Sled Dog Association during the UP 200 weekends, and worked for our communications and marketing department. Fun facts about Grace. Her grandparents are retired faculty from NMU, and her sister graduated in 2021, a secondary ed major currently teaching in Montana. She grew up on a farm and raised and showed pigs as part of 4-H. Grace just finished student teaching in a kindergarten classroom. After graduation, she is hoping to teach in an elementary school in the Marquette area. The theme of Grace's address tomorrow is the connection students have made while at Northern and how these invisible strings will always connect us. Chair Young, I believe you have a presentation to make. Congrats, Grace.
Okay, we have a plaque we want to give you to commemorate your speaking. It says Student Commencement Speaker, Grace Cook, May 4th, 2024. Give that to you. Okay, I'd like to at this time call on President Tessman, who will introduce our commencement speaker and honorary degree recipient.
Thank you, Chair Young, and we'll have a chance for a kind of complete and full introduction and recognition for our commencement speaker later this evening. But today at this meeting, it is my pleasure to recognize and introduce Dr. Milton Chen, who is joining us not only to serve as our commencement speaker, but also to receive an honorary degree, an honorary doctorate in education from Northern Michigan University. Congratulations, Milton. Yeah. We welcome you to Marquette and to Northern. A beautiful day for you today. And I have to say, really an honor to have someone here for our commencement speech and someone who will receive this recognition who embodies a lot of what makes Northern special. Dr. Chen has a distinguished career in many different respects. Currently, he's a senior fellow and Director Emeritus at the George Lucas Education Foundation. He led that foundation for over 10 years, 1998 to 2010. Many of you may have heard of the kind of education clearinghouse website Edutopia. It's extremely well known. I have down here over 5 million monthly users of Edutopia. It's a transformative resource for many across the country. We just met in person earlier this morning. We've had a Zoom call ahead of this, but I feel like I know Dr. Chen, and you'll understand why in a minute. He, during his time leading educational programming at KQED in San Francisco, was a heavy influence on the development of key programming from my childhood. 321 Contact, The Electric Company, and a little show you may have heard of, Sesame Street. Yeah, as I said that, I realized what I was doing, but please don't take that. And of course, also a notable author, Dr. Chen has written really one of the most influential education books in the last 15 or 20 years, Education Nation, 6 Leading Edges of Innovation in Our Schools. He is serving on a number of boards, including the Michigan Kellogg Foundation, and some fun facts, but really important facts about Dr. Chen. He's also chair of the National Park Systems Advisory Board, the education committee there. Named an honorary park ranger. I think many of us probably have that dream someday, and then many more of us may have had this dream. Fred Rogers Award. Fred Rogers, I think all of us can look up to in a number of different ways. We have a number of Star Wars fans in the Upper Peninsula. There is, of course, the George Lucas connection. And Dr. Chen, on his 50th birthday, was named by George Lucas an honorary Master Jedi, which seems like a peak achievement in life. So I'm so happy to have you back here, Dr. Chen. You were born in the UP. We will take credit in Nagani for developing the strong foundation for all of your success. We look forward to more time with you this evening. Of course, look forward to your commencement address tomorrow. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you for being here, and we do look forward to hearing your remarks tomorrow. And I know we'll get a chance later today. We have a reception, get a chance to get to know you better. So thank you for being here. Now, next is really kind of a fun thing we get to do. We have I don't know if you can see it on TV, but we have a room full of student athletes and coaches out here that we're going to recognize. This is really a cool event for us, and thank you for being here. But we've had quite a year in athletics, and so we want to recognize some of that today. We have 21 athletic teams at the intercollegiate and national training levels. Of those 21 squads, 14 of them, that's 14, advanced to regional and or national championship competition this year. And it may be 16, actually, because we have lacrosse and outdoor track and field are competing in their respective GLIAC championships this weekend. And lacrosse is ranked 4th in the Midwest region, and track and field has 3 student athletes with NCAA championship provisionally qualifying times. So we might actually go from 14 to 16 that had quite a year. So we also earlier this year recognized 2 of the 14 teams in the fall, and that was our women's soccer team and the cross country team. So now we want to celebrate the success of the Wildcats this winter and spring. So we have several coaches, as I said, and student athletes from these teams here this morning, and thank you again for being here. And before we start with the teams, I want to thank and congratulate our athletic director, Rick Comley, who is out of town today and can't be here. But joining us are Robin Burke, our senior associate AD, and compliance assistant, Holly Wachuk. And I hope I pronounced that right, Holly? Wachuk. Okay, sorry. I did. Sorry. Okay. Please pass along a congratulations to the entire athletics department staff. And now what I want to do is I'm going to call on each individual trustee to recognize the teams that we have. And we're going to start with men's basketball. And that will be, I believe, Trustee Greg Toutant is going to do that first. And do you want the athletes to come up and the coach? Yes, okay. So we have first up the men's basketball.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be able to help introduce and honor the men's basketball team. And as you know, the men's basketball team won the GLIAC regular season title for the first time since the 92-93 season. Coincidentally, I was here then, so I do remember that. Additionally, Northern advanced to the NCAA regional tournament for a second consecutive year, continuing and building off of the success of the prior year. Matt Makerzak was named the GLIAC Coach of the Year, and Max Weisbrod, GLIAC Player of the Year. Fantastic. Max was also an all-district first-team pick, and Dylan Keel, a second-team selection. So both Coach and Dylan are here today with us, and we certainly want to thank you for all the hard work and success this year, and we're really proud of you.
All right.
You realize you're not quite tall enough when you stand next to those guys. You bet.
Okay, next we will have Trustee LaPointe Dunham. She will be doing women's basketball. So if you could come up, women's basketball. All right.
The women's basketball team earned a berth to the NCAA regional tournament for the first time since 2019 and advanced to the round of 32.
Wow.
JC Weisbrod tied NMU's single-game record with 9 three-pointers in the first-round NCAA victory versus Kentucky Wesleyan. Guys, that's hard to do. And she's only a sophomore, so we got her. McKaylee Kuhn became NMU's all-time leading scorer with 2005 career points. She was selected All-Midwest Region and was a recipient of the prestigious GLIAC Commissioner's Award and is a straight-up baller. With us today are Coach Casey Thousand, McKaylee, and JC.
There we go. Yeah, perfect. All right. Congratulations. Next, we have Trustee Lindberg, who will be doing the men's and women's swimming and diving team. So if you want to come forward, please.
On a side note, you might not believe this, but at one time I trained for a mini marathon, and swimmers have to be the best trained athletes in the world. The biking and the running were easy. The swimming,
Wow.
I have nothing but admiration for what you do. So congratulations to the 20 members of the men's and women's swimming and diving teams who qualified to meet at the NCAA Double II Championship, including 14 who came back with the title All-American.
Yeah, wow.
At the national meet, the Wildcat men finished 15th and the women 19th of 59 teams. And so joining us today are Coach Heidi Voigt, Assistant Coach Matt Williams, and All-Americans Will LeCount and Zoe DeKevitt. Congratulations.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, congratulations. How did you do in that mini marathon? Did you,
I almost drowned in the swim.
Okay. All right. I'd like to call on Trustee Fatanti, who will present our men's and women's ski teams, Nordic and Alpine. So if you could come forward, teams.
Okay. Our Nordic men's and women's ski teams won the Central Collegiate Ski Association Conference titles. At the NCAA regionals, the men grabbed the crown and the women were second to earn bids to compete at the NCAA championships, where they combined for an 18th place finish. Well, my notes say please stand and be recognized, but how about just step forward? Coach Andy Keller and NCAA championship competitors Christoph Karsrud and Henriette Nielsen. Congratulations. And our Alpine men's and women's ski teams had a fantastic year, winning their respective regional titles. They then finished fourth and second, respectively, at the national championships, where 6 Wildcats finished as All-Americans. Joining us today are Coach Eric Lundhagen and All-Americans Aaron Grislak and Regan Oley. Did I say that right? Congratulations.
Congratulations. Next, I'd like to call on Trustee Holmquist, who will present our track and field teams. Come on up, track and field.
And also our women's golf team. They're out of town. But do we have our, okay. All right, good morning, everyone. So this morning I have the pleasure of speaking about our track and field team, but as Trustee Young mentioned, they are out of town competing today. But the track and field team was represented at the NCAA Indoor Championships by Elise Wolfrath, who earned All-America status in the 60-meter hurdles. So I want to give a remote good luck to our team and to our athletes who are competing today. But we also have here today from the women's golf team our coach Eric Johnson and assistant coach Ben Johnson. And also want to acknowledge Maya Hunter, who I believe could not be here today. She's practicing. Beautiful day. But Maya earned one of just 3 individual spots for the NCAA Division II East Regional that will start in just a few days. So good luck to Maya, and thank you to our coaches.
Excellent. I'd now like to call on Trustee Toutant, who will present our Greco-Roman wrestlers and the women's wrestling team. If you're here, come on up. All right.
Yes, thank you. If I get a few names wrong, just don't put me in a wrestling move. But thank you. Recently, 5 of our national training site Greco-Roman wrestlers competed at the U.S. Olympic Trials qualifier. There, Peyton Jacobson captured a Team USA roster spot and will compete at the Paris Summer Olympic Games, while Max Black advanced to the U.S. national team and Team USA for the Under-23 World Championships. So that's fantastic. So here today are Peyton, Max, and Coach Andy Bizek, a former Olympian himself. And so I don't know if you want to be able to step up a little bit. Peyton and Max, we're very, very excited for you, and we'll be cheering you on this summer and tuning in and watching everything. And again, very, very proud of you guys. Yep. And in addition to that, 3 of our women's wrestlers qualified for the National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championship, where they finished 28th of 49 teams. Please help me recognize Marissa Angelo, and from the coaching staff, Diana Saziva. If I got that right, Saziva? All right, thank you. Congratulations. Yep, good. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, and wow, that's a lot of success that we just heard about there, and a lot of effort went into all that. But I do think, Steve, I'm told you have a year of eligibility left, that you might be able to get on that swim team again?
Yes.
No? Okay. But seriously, to our students, you've represented Northern well, both on the fields of competition and in the classroom, and we're so proud of your accomplishments. And congratulations again to all of you. Those returning, we look forward to watching you in action next season, and thank you all for attending this morning. I'd like to at this time call on Vice Chair Hart, who has a special recognition.
Thank you, Chair Young. Good morning, everyone. At this time, I would like to call up and recognize Ms. Rose Schopfer. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my pleasure to be able to introduce Rose. Rose is a recipient of the Leadership Scholarship Award. Mr. Tegan Blahowiak and Ms. Reagan Cox are also recipients, but were unable to attend this morning. The Leadership Scholarship Program is administered by the Center for Student Enrichment. and seeks to identify students who have significant leadership experience, academic achievement, and have demonstrated outstanding leadership potential. These students need to have a high level of leadership involvement, responsibility, and an attitude towards leadership. Applicants compete in the Presidential Scholars Competition at NMU in the fall, and the chosen winners of the Leadership Scholarship are based on their participation in small group exercises, their resumes, an essay, and their GPA. This scholarship is given for 4 years, and the students must maintain a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 and have active participation in a student organization leading to a leadership position. Attend required meetings, submit a professional resume, help with the presidential scholarship competition, and more. You must be very busy. Rose is from Mankato, Michigan. Did I say that right? Mankato. I practiced too. And will graduate in December after adding a second major in math to her computer science major. I asked Rose before we came up if she wanted to share a favorite leadership memory. Would you like to do that, Rose?
Absolutely. Okay, so my favorite leadership memory I have at NMU is being able to resurrect the ACM chapter at this college. So ACM stands for Association of Computer and Machinery, or Computing Machinery, and it's through that chapter we are able to bring students to go compete at a global recognized event called the ACM Coding Competition. For us, it takes place at MTU, and through that, we're able to create an environment where students are able to practice coding and just bring enthusiasts that maybe aren't majoring in it and want to compete. It is also through that with my advisor, Dr. Andy Poe, and my vice president, Frankie Wilson, we were able to resurrect as well one of NMU's longest standing events, the NMU Coding Competition. We hosted it for the first time since it stopped in 2020. We had 16 teams ranging from Duluth, Minnesota, and Algoma in Canada. And it was a wonderful event with a great turnout. And I think that was my favorite leadership memory, to be able to bring back 2 really great events that NMU is missing out on after COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Rose plans to continue working for Carl Morris Incorporated, KMI, as an internal program developer. KMI is a space company based in Marquette to remove orbital debris. She's very excited to continue to be a part of their team and to see what kind of things they can accomplish together. Congratulations, Rose.
Congratulations, Rose, and thank you, Vice Chair Hart, for that introduction. I would also, before we continue on, we also have another special recognition that involves somebody on this board. We have an all-star here amongst us, and it's not you, Steve. It's not your swimming, but it's actually Missy Holmquist, who is the CEO of the UP Health Plans. And just recently, UP Health Plans was rated the #1 Medicare/Medicaid health plan in the nation, one of the number ones, based on the overall rating of the plan by a survey that was done by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, where enrollees were asked to rate their healthcare experience over the previous 6 months, rating their health plan on a scale from 0 to 10. And UPHP scored 91 out of 100 for 2023. And so this is a huge recognition for UPHP, and we're so pleased that Missy's on our board, and we can share in that with her. So congratulations,
Thank you. That was very unexpected, but very excited and happy. Really, it's all about serving our membership. So that's what means the most to us, and thank you so much.
You want to get your picture with Brock? No, it's very cool, and congratulations, Missy, to you and your team. So I'd like to, at this time, call on Dr. Russ Minyagi for our moment in NMU history. Doctor?
this is not my full Jedi outfit, which I have. Okay, philanthropy is the desire to promote the welfare of others, expressed especially by generous donations of money to a good cause. From its inception, Northern has benefited from the contributions of a variety of philanthropists who have aided the school's mission. Northern was created on April 28, 1899, when Governor Hazen Pengree signed the bill establishing Northern State Normal School. In response, the city of Marquette offered funds and the use of the City Hall, where the first classes were conducted beginning in September. In 1900, UP landowners John and Mary Longyear and their friends Frederick and Ellen Eyre provided 20 acres of land for the first campus, which today is worth at least several $1 million. The following year, Longyear and Eyre erected and furnished a dormitory with a view of reducing the living expenses of students. It remained their property until 1918. Musically inclined Mary Longyear donated money for a Chickering grand piano purchased from the manufacturer, especially for the school. When she heard that the state had not provided funds for a music teacher, she created the first professorship for Sophia Linton, who started the successful music program that is with us today. She also gave Northern a valuable set of art portfolios. Peter White, Marquette pioneer, who fought for a normal school in the Upper Peninsula beginning in 1875, anonymously donated $1,000. Today, that would be over $36,000 annually, and through this fund, Northern came into ownership of a fine collection of framed pictures, that were reproductions of art classics. Several excellent pieces of statuary were purchased, and these included a Venus de Milo and other Greco-Roman statues that were scattered around the campus. Several publishing firms and private individuals enriched the budding library with gifts of books and periodicals. Mr. Longyear, by the summer of 1900, donated $1,500 for this purchase as well. A group of Marquette businessmen donated funds for 2,000 books from the Moses Coit Tyler Rare Book Collection to be added to the library. Banker and businessman N.M. Kaufman in 1908 established an annual prize of $50. Today, that would be almost $1,700 for the top 2 best student orators, $30 for first prize and $20 for second prize. In 1924, Mr. and Mrs. Carol Paul of Marquette gave a microscope and a 2-eye-piece 8-millimeter telescope, which was heartily appreciated by the school. Mrs. Helen Paul was the daughter of John Longyear, and in 1949, she donated a wilderness area to the college, which we still have. Student groups and individual classes gave artifacts and monies. The 1907 class donated the statue of Donatello's St. George and the Dragon, while the 1916 class donated a statue of Abraham Lincoln. Both are in the Beaumier Heritage Center. In the middle of the Great Depression, the class of 1932 gave an elaborate gateway that was once located at the northeast corner of campus, directly across Avenue from Subway sandwiches. The 1935 class donated $500 for a new scoreboard for the gym, while another class gave money for an unrealized student union. Mary Moore, in 1918, provided $1,000 that allowed needy family students, female students, to borrow from, and there was the Bartlett King Memorial Fund for Men. On April 14th, 1924, the students of Yggdrasil Literary Society voted to give $25, which in today's value would be $913 to each of these groups, while at the same time President Munson donated $100, almost $1,800, for music stands for the music department. And the Marquette Music Club donated $350 for a variety of instruments. This presentation ends in 1959, highlighting with what President Edgar Hardin called the largest donation given to the college 60 years after its creation by former English faculty member, department head, and noted folklorist James Bauman. He donated $20,000 in bonds, which would be valued at close to $250,000 today for scholarships. My minute ends, but Northern Michigan University continues to benefit from philanthropy. So a day early, may the force be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I'd like to at this time call on Gwen Feemster, our ASNMU president, and Dana Hinckley, the ASNMU president-elect, for their presentation.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
I have a Mac. I don't have PowerPoint. All right. Good afternoon and morning. My name is Gwen Feemster. I'm the outgoing president for the ASNMU.
And I'm Dana Hinckley. I am the incoming president for ASNMU.
So a little bit about this year, what we worked on, what we've done. I personally could say I am so proud of this group. We worked on an emergency contraceptive vending machine with some help from the president's office and one of his committees, and we actually sent that proposal up a few weeks ago. This vending machine would provide emergency contraceptives, over-the-counter meds like Tylenol, ibuprofen, safe sex items as well at a very low cost for our students. So we're really hoping that that proposal passes, as an immense amount of students would benefit from this, especially being in a rural area. The community members could also benefit as well. We've been working with the AAPC and Academic Senate on a, I'm going to say this wrong, posthumous degree policy, aiding students when they pass away, to getting some sort of recognition from the university, whether that's a degree or a degree in memoriam if they did not have the necessary credits before their passing. We moved our career closet. We're working to revive the bike share. 20 of our bikes are actually being repaired as we speak. So that's really great. That program died with COVID, and it provides free bikes for our students to use around campus for a multitude of days. We expanded our grad closet, which provides caps and gowns at no cost to our students to borrow for graduation. We expanded that to 115 gowns. We did rent out all 115 gowns with a wait list this year. We've gotten really good at social programming. We had an ice cream night, some art contests, bracelet making, really trying to get student gov back to the students. And then the big one, referendums 1 and 2, which I believe will come to your guys' table in July. Referendum 1 gives student organizations funding that they need to survive and operate. And this potential referendum passed with the student body to raise the student activity fee from $37.12 up to an even $51, giving those student orgs the ability to function. With that, we've also approved referendum 2, which is just a revision of our Constitution, as the Constitution had representation for Gantt Hall still, and we thought we should be a little more up to date. So we fixed that up, and that should be getting some signatures soon as well. And then the last thing, Student Finance Committee, we've really been growing our membership on that. The Student Finance Committee is the group that decides which groups get money for events, and it allocates those funds from the student activity fee to see which groups get all the monies. They do really hard work. We were down quite a few people, but in the last month alone, we've gotten 3 new people. So as always, I like to use this time to kind of tell you what's on student minds. So a couple ones as I leave. We're really worried about housing. Housing is a very big problem. This isn't new. We talked about it in December. I'll talk to you about it when I see you in passing. And I would just highly encourage the board to start seeking creative opportunities in ways that we can help our students. On a personal note, I know I got my house in December, and I don't know if I wouldn't have gotten it 5 months ahead of time if I would have had a place to live. My roommates are still searching, and we move out on Sunday. So please, on behalf of students, this is sincerely serious, and it is going to start affecting enrollment if a decision is not made soon. Next, student wages. As the cost of living goes up, so should the student wages. Students on campus should be making a fair, livable wage. And so I would also encourage the board to look at ways that we can improve that for our students so we can keep student employment on campus, keep this university running from that perspective as well.
And some other things that students have been talking about are food options on campus. I've heard that one way too many times. Students are just talking about like options more specifically in the dining hall because that's the most convenient location for students to get food. I'm going to jump into the one underneath that as well because a lot of students stay up late. I myself eat dinner at like 9 or 10 p.m. So if I were a student living in the residence halls and I came home from a long day, I would have nothing to eat except Taco Bell because that's like the only place. Or if I want to get some chips from Cat Tracks. So like maybe having like the dining hall open a little bit longer, the fit zone, study spaces, and all of that stems from the issue of student wages and availability of student workers as well. Also, a lot of good talk about commuter student resources with that new lounge space opening up in Hardin Hall. That's been a huge hit. A lot of like awareness about commuter students as well. They make up about 50% of the student population, which is a huge number, but in the past, they have not been recognized by students. Like they've just been hidden behind the scenes, and I think we're bringing awareness to those students as well, making events more accessible for them. And then another good thing, mental health initiatives. A lot of students have been attending those wellness events and that kind of thing, and then lots of positive talk about the Wellbeing Center, so yeah. And then what we plan on working on this, in the next coming semesters is the grief absence policy. It is drafted, ready to go. We just have a couple more steps to work with. Gwen has put so much work into that, so we're just trying to push it through and get that going and get approved come in the fall. Another thing, on the fun side of things, we are working on building a farmer's market that's going to be coming to campus. The tentative date is going to be Wednesday, September 18th, which is during that homecoming week. And that will be hosted by NMU. We're going to have outside vendors as well as student vendors, trying to make that connection between like NMU as well as the community. And then we're also trying to increase student belonging by hosting more events like this market, as well as providing more support for student organizations. A lot of students don't have that distinct place on campus, and I think student organizations are a great way to give them that place. So really like encouraging students to join and get involved on campus. We are starting this program where we can like rent out items to students. We already have like a couple things, but some of the recent items that we've added were a karaoke machine, which the TEAC has just used.
It's very popular. It was very
popular. They had a really great event too. And so then another thing is like these they're small like poster display signs, nothing big or anything, but hopefully getting some more items in the future to kind of help out these student organizations. And then just a monthly newsletter to let other students know about what's going on campus and how they can get involved. So our new assembly has been chosen. So my name's Dana, as I said before. I'm the newly elected president. Our vice president, her name is Ruby Joseph. She is not here today. She is on the women's wrestling team, and that's a little bit about her. She's a great person. Our voice of the assembly, her name is Hallie Johnson. She will be also running our social media. And then our College of Arts and Sciences representatives, we have Ava and Ben. And then for student affairs, we have our quad representative, which is Jack Belcher, and the Woods representative, which is Naomi Allen.
This was the highest turnout ASMU had in an election in over a decade, so really exciting. And if my math was correct, over a decade ago, there were a lot more students. So we kind of killed it. The new assembly is going to be great, and we have a great, we have a great starting point. So Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We got questions.
Are there any questions? I had one on when you were talking about the hours, the study spaces you said. Do we close study spaces, or how does that work?
It depends on the place and it depends on the day. I know ASMU worked with NMU PD to get Jamridge open on Saturdays this year, but there's a time where student employees have to go home, so I think it's 2 p.m. they're open until. And then on a normal day, Jamridge closes at I think 11, and then those other buildings close earlier as well.
Yeah.
It seems silly, but there's a lot of night owls, and especially with the library renovations, study spaces, the dining hall, students work, so don't get back from work till 10. You're having the bag of chips or Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Maybe just a comment from my side. I still have it up, the kind of what's on students' minds. I love that slide. Please keep that in. It's really helpful for us to, hear that voice. And what I'm really pleased about is the alignment with what's on the students' mind and what we've been talking about in the board and the administration, whether it be housing, whether it be mental health initiatives. Thank you for all you do. And it's people like you who step up and take these leadership roles and that make it all work. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay up there for just a second. We've got a little presentation. Gwen? Oh, get it.
Yeah, not really a question, but more so like a comment. A lot of the buildings close like on Sundays, like the science building or anything like that. With the closure of the library, there's not any study spaces as well. So I think that point was very strong by you guys.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we can swipe into the buildings. I think that would be really effective. You can see who swiped in to worry about security. Considering, like he said, we don't have study spaces. And also, like the hours on like the dining hall and things like that. I know with Pancakes with the President, the dining hall is open until 9. Most labs don't get out until 9. So I feel like having the dining hall open until 9 most days would be really helpful.
Okay, thank you. It's good feedback. And since I've been on the board, seems like Gwen, you've been here almost every board meeting I've been at. I've been on the board a long time, but so I'm really sorry to see you moving on. But Dana, we're looking forward to working with you. And as a token of our appreciation from the board, we have this for you, Gwen. It's a blanket. You want to open it?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I wanted to open it.
Oh my goodness. I like set it here.
Oh, yeah.
This is cute packaging. You did well.
I didn't. Thank you, Kathy. So, it's embroidered with,
My name.
and thanking her for her years of service here. Want to get a picture with the board and Gwen and Dana and.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wherever you're in
This is it. Tomorrow's it.
I need to stand in the back.
Go ahead, you guys.
Leave this bag for me to put over my head or what?
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
Yep, okay. Okay, we're going on to go on to item 11 on our agenda, which is the staff report. And I'd like to call on Mr. Steve Terrace, the AFSCME union representative, who will provide that report. Welcome, Steve.
Morning. Members of the board, Mr. Tessman, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Steve Terrace, like you said, electrician here at Northern and also the vice president of AFSCME Local 1094. And I'm here to give an update on our staff labor council. So since our last update, we have continued to meet and gather information from all our employees on what they would like to see happen at NMU to help retain our existing professional workforce that we have. And each group put out a set of surveys, and we got a lot of feedback from the employees. And the most common point that we had continued to see was the struggle to financially keep up with the rise of inflation and the cost of living. And we also feel that in the past, some concessions had been made by the employees to keep NMU heading in the right direction over the recent years, and when there was a lot of uncertainty heading forward. And we are very happy to see the recent agreement that was reached between the faculty and NMU, and we are looking forward to seeing NMU's future commitment to investing in their people. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now I'd like to call on President Testman for the President's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As usual, there are so many things that I could cover in this short time. I wanted to just offer a few thank yous. That's the way I'll handle this report, and then we do have, I think, a really nice way to culminate the report here at the end. But I was going to try to grab Gwen and Dana before they left, because my first thank you and congratulations really is to ASNMU and the students of Northern. They mentioned referendum 1, which was about raising the student fee, which had not been raised in quite some time. And it was a significant increase, $13 plus per year, which is real money for our students and for any of us. It's a big deal. But in order to support all of the programming that builds a sense of belonging, support student enrichment and engagement, the costs increase. And so in order to support that, I really credit ASNMU for undertaking that referendum and then really advertising that referendum, providing good information and awareness, and ultimately it passed convincingly. And so major kudos to all of the students who participated. The turnout was significant, and I was very happy to see that. Importantly, I want to follow that by thanking, I don't know if Jamie is still here, Jamie Crabb, Rick Mengen, Lynn Johnson, the membership of the AAUP for not only what I think was a very positive outcome in our recent MOU conversations, but the process that got us to that point. We had very good and productive, if intense, conversations along the way. So thank you so much to our AAUP membership and leadership for that process. On sort of our side of the table, so to speak, we had a small team, Rhea Deaver, Gavin Leach, myself, supporting our two principal points of contact and leads on that, which were Dale Kapla and Matt Franti. And Dale and Matt, a special thank you to both of you also for supporting and leading such a positive process, generating such a positive outcome. Thanks. In terms of just brief updates, some more thank yous, I suppose, on the enrollment side. Enrollment is looking positive. Each day that goes by, we can become more confident in the numbers we're seeing for the fall. A lot of that has to do with persistence and retention. In other words, our ability to retain and keep the students who've already chosen Northern. Those numbers look like they continue to tick upward, and we continue to work very hard in order to maintain positive momentum. For our incoming students, the kind of recruitment phase of things, there are big points of uncertainty out there. NMU moved to the common application this past year. So as we've been pointing out, that means that the number of applications has increased substantially, by almost 100%. The number of admitted students has increased substantially. Of course, the number of students who choose to ultimately attend Northern will likely not track at that high of a percentage, but we're seeing positive numbers. We just don't know how to interpret the numbers because the switch to the Common App was a very significant switch. Also, we all know about the complications surrounding the rollout of the new FAFSA, and In the spirit of the switch to the Common App and the new FAFSA, I want to thank our admissions team, our financial aid team, and others really for being flexible and proactive in communicating honestly with our students and communicating quickly with our students. I'll have more to report on our enrollment situation in July. We've been hearing all week and over the last couple of weeks about student and faculty achievements on this campus. And there just are so many that we could mention. I'm really not going to go through a full list, although I have one written here as part of my script. But I guess I'll spotlight just two. One very quickly is a partnership between our School of Nursing at Northern and Saginaw Valley State, and it has to do with enhancing behavioral care support in the UP. And this is actually educational support for advanced practice nurses, and the partnership will offer psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner training to 31 nurses in the Upper Peninsula, and this addresses an extreme shortage in our region. Really happy to partner with SVSU and thankful to our nursing school for undertaking that effort. The other highlight that I want to discuss is from our very own Jill Leonard, our department head from the biology department. She took a group of NMU students to the U.S. Virgin Islands for an advanced field marine biology course, a tremendous and transformative opportunity for those students. I'm sure it was enjoyable in many ways. You can picture someone in the late winter down in the Caribbean, and I'm sure it was enjoyable. It's also very hard work. It's very important work and really impactful work that Dr. Leonard does on behalf of our students. You've heard me talk about the kickoff of our 125th anniversary celebration. We had a nice event last night with many community leaders and kind of walked through where Northern is at this point in its history. And a couple of weeks ago, as part of our new NMU Giving Day, we saw our alumni, our students, our employees, and community members really step forward and lend great support to kick off that 125th anniversary. We had over 500 donors participate in our Giving Day. Major kudos to Andy Hill, Kylie Bunting, and others who made that day possible. Okay, I wanted to get to this point. There are times where you sort of step back and as a board, as a president, maybe as administrators, you think, wow, we're doing something really, really significant in this moment. And this is an example of that. We are going to announce the selection of the new alma mater for Northern Michigan University. And this is a selection that once made, hopefully will be durable for decades, perhaps even centuries. This process has been a long process. It feels like it's basically been underway since I started in this role, almost a year and a half ago. We made a request for submissions for our alma mater composition. We had original compositions submitted by current students, alumni, faculty, and staff. We had a working group made up of students, faculty, staff, and alumni representatives, a really diverse group of folks who understood not only the kind of musical side of things, but certainly the history that goes along with Northern and the kind of alma mater we would want to carry forward for, again, the next 125 years or more. I don't think that we have any members of the alma mater working group here except for Cindy Pavla. But Cindy, could you stand? And if any other members are here, please stand and be recognized for the very hard work that you did. Now, I was not part of this work group, but I understand it was very intense conversations, very difficult decision that they had to make. I will share the winning submission with you in a minute, but our first and second runners-up. Our second place selection, or second runner-up, was Golden Shores, composed by NMU alumni Heidi Hummel and William Ragnone. William is a band and choir teacher in Menominee, and Heidi is really active with the music department and majored in outdoor recreation and leadership and is presently a wilderness guide. The first runner-up selection was NMU, our alma mater, composed by Northern alumni Abigail O'Connell and Benjamin Gronval. Abigail's working as a band director in Whitehall Schools downstate, and Ben's a music major grad who's working as an instrument repair technician in Muskegon. Really proud of all of the submissions. So many deep connections to Northern were revealed through this process. The winning selection. The winning selection was written by an NMU professor, NMU broadcasting professor, Dr. Dwight Brady, who also happens to be quite an accomplished musician. And the work group, who ultimately recommended Dr. Brady's composition, pointed out that the alma mater, titled Northern Pride, demonstrates Northern's strong connection to the pristine local environment, indigenous culture and people, and rigorous learning. And he managed to do that in just 60 words. So it is such a privilege, and I'm so excited for the first time in public for us to all hear Northern's new alma mater, Northern Pride. Wow. I'm not going to sing it, Hugo, thank you.
Mountain ridges, forest floors, crashing waves on rocky shores, on the home of Anishinaabe tribes. Our alma mater stands with pride. In your halls, my voice I find, rigor building strength of mind. As we journey from this place, knowledge will ignite our way like auroras in the sky. We will shine with northern pride. We will shine with northern pride.
Dr. Brady, congratulations. Thank you so much for your submission. If you'd like to say a word or two about your process or about Northern Pride, we welcome you to do so at this point in time.
Well, again, thank you to the selection committee. I know it was not easy. And as a faculty member who is approaching retirement here in a few years, this is quite gratifying knowing that a part of me will continue on long after I retire and hopefully long after I expire. It's really, really special, and I'm just deeply honored. Thank you.
And Northern Pride will officially debut at this fall's homecoming football game. Between now and then, we'll all be working on different arrangements for the different musical groups that might employ the alma mater along the way, the marching band, the symphonic band, and the university choir. Again, congratulations, Dr. Brady, to the working group. Thank you again for your service. And as is written, a clever play on words here. I will close my report on that note. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Tessman. And now we'll move to our committee reports, and I'll call on Trustee Fattanti for a report on the Academic Affairs Committee meeting.
Thank you. An Academic Affairs Committee meeting of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University was held on May 3rd, 2024. The meeting was convened at 9:15 a.m. by myself, Chair Lisa Fattanti. Committee members present were myself, Trustee Steve Lindberg, Trustee Greg Toutant, Chair of Board of Trustees and ex officio Stephen Young, President and ex officio Dr. Brock Tessman, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs and ex officio Dr. Ann Dahlman. The committee received informational reports, presentations on the following: Academic Senate, charter schools, uplink, and new programs. The committee recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the following. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommends to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of East Shore Leadership Academy Public School Academy for a term of 5 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2029. This motion is a part of the formal recommendations. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommended to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of Francis Ray Academy Public School Academy for a term of 5 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2029. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommends to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of George Crockett Academy, Public School Academy for an initial term of 2 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026, with an opportunity to add not more than 3 additional years upon satisfying contractual obligations as established by the CSO Director. If all criteria set forth in the contract are met, the contract will automatically extend for the additional 3 years through June 30th, 2029. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommends to the Board of Trustees the reauthorization of North Star Montessori Academy, Public School Academy for an initial term of 2 years from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026, with an opportunity to add not more than 3 additional years upon satisfying contractual obligations as established by the CSO Director. If all criteria set forth in the contract are met, the contract will automatically extend for the additional 3 years through June 30th, 2029. The committee recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the following. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommends to the Board of Trustees approval of the following new charter school board appointments. Francis Ray Public School Academy, Jimmy Green through June 30th, 2027. Nata Wash Public School Academy, Tessa Keshik through June 30th, 2025. The committee recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the following. After a motion duly made and seconded, the committee recommends to the Board of Trustees approval of the following programs. Cannabis Agriculture Certificate. This new program is effective fall of 2024. This motion is part of the formal recommendations. The meeting adjourned at 10:02 a.m.
Thank you, Trustee Fattanti. It's a very comprehensive report. Appreciate that. And now I'd like to go to our Finance Committee, and I'll call on Vice Chair Hart, who was also Chair of the Finance Committee, to report on that meeting.
The meeting of the Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University convened at 4:15 p.m. on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, in the Northern Center, Peninsula 2, by myself, Chair Alexis Hart. Also present at the meeting were members of the committee, Board of Trustees members, and Finance and Administration Division staff. Although other trustees were present at the meeting, only the committee members participated. The committee accepted the following report and plan as written. The May 2024 Internal Audit Open Issues Report. The fiscal year 2024-2025 Raymond Professional Services Plan. The committee recommended that the board approve the following, which are included in the board formals. Room and board rates for fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2024-2025 continuing budgets for auxiliary operations, housing and residence life, the general fund, the designated fund. Also is a temporary liquor license. The committee was provided with an informal update on major facilities projects, and the meeting adjourned at 4:42 p.m.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hart. We will now go on to item 14, which is the amended Board of Trustees bylaws. And I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the amended Board of Trustees bylaws.
I move that the NMU Board of Trustees approved the amended Board of Trustees bylaws.
Support.
Is there discussion?
So, thank you. Several years ago, we established what we call the Ad Hoc Policy Committee. Within this committee, it provides an opportunity for us to look at various policies within the university and also review our bylaws. So we recently took an opportunity to do that, as we should very often, to ensure the continued relevance of our bylaws and identify also any opportunities. So we had an opportunity to make some updates to some of the language. A lot of it was more housekeeping type type topics, address changes, expanding some additional approval for the vice chair in absence of the chair. I think when we first looked at the bylaws a few years ago, we definitely saw the need to make sure that we're continuing to update them and make sure we're not talking about telegraphs and carrier pigeons. And so we are committed to continue to do that. In addition, we were also able to update language that focuses on gearing our public comments to focus on the governance and oversight of the university. Other notable changes, there was a reference to the Roberts Rules of Order. And in asking my fellow board members here how familiar everyone was, it's a 770-page document. So what we determined is it would be in our best interest to update that language so that our meetings are conducted in accordance with our bylaws, much simpler for all of us. We also noticed an opportunity as we have the opportunity to put in ad hoc committees such as the policy committee. We have had occasion to dissolve those committees, so we wanted to make sure that we also provided clarity to that. So again, those are just a couple of the highlights to some of the changes that we made. Obviously, once and if this is approved, we'll have everyone will have an opportunity to view that online.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hart. Are there any questions? Okay. I will then call for a motion or a vote to approve the motion, and all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries. Now go on to our action on formal recommendations, and we'll call for a motion and a second to vote and approve the formal recommendations.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. We'll now call on President We'll now call on President Tessman to make an announcement of our informal sessions.
Chair Young, the NMU Board of Trustees will hold a closed session in conjunction with the Thursday, Friday, July 18th and 19th, and September 19th and 20th, 24 meetings of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tessman. We now are down to the good of the order, and so we will start that process. I will start with Vice Chair Hart first.
Thank you, Chair Young. I have so many notes, so I'll try to keep it coherent here and concise. It's always great to be on campus, especially this time of year, especially with the weather that we were having today. It's pretty fantastic out there. But it's I've been remarking to some of my colleagues here that this is a very different campus than it was 8 years ago when I first came on. And it's always exciting to hear about the amazing, wonderful initiatives that are going on at the university. We have a lot of positive things happening, especially with enrollment. As we've heard, sometimes those create other opportunities for us. And whether it be, making sure we've got housing, meeting a lot of different needs, happy problems, sometimes you like to refer to them as. And I just feel incredibly comfortable and good about the things that that we're focusing on as a university, such as mental health and well-being, student success. I think that these opportunities will just continue to be at our doorstep because of all of the wonderful things happening in the community and also at the university. This is the 125th anniversary week. I thought it was great to hear from Russ Minyagi. I love that he comes in to do his historical reflections. I think only remembering where we came from helps guide us to where we will go. And today he talked about philanthropy. And I think about where we are today and how some things change so much and some things never change. And again, I always appreciate that he takes the opportunity to come in and do that. And it's just absolutely amazing to see, even from some highlights last night from our community event, where we came from 125 years ago and where this campus is today. Brock, I think you said it. It is just the beginning, right? This isn't kind of we're not looking at it as the end of an era. We're looking at it as the beginning of a new one. And the future is really, really bright. Lastly, I would like to congratulate, I think it's over 900 graduates who will graduate tomorrow. So congratulations to them and their families. Unfortunately, I won't be there, so I wanted to take a chance to recognize them here. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know the numbers, but many of these students may have started in 2020. Some of them maybe even beforehand. And I'm just the time period in which they had the opportunity to either, get into their first, second year or just start the university. I'm sure that they already had many challenges that have created some intestinal fortitude within them. And, as I listen to, I think Gwen is graduating tomorrow too. The people, the students that are coming out of the university, I think are going to be so well equipped, just based on the amazing university support system, some of the things that they've been through and some of the things that they've grown through. And I'm just very excited for them. So. All right, I'm gonna.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hart. Trustee Fatante.
So I just have a couple things. Trustee Hart, I also want to congratulate all the graduates. Like she said, we're going to have about 900 walking across the stage, and I really look forward to being there because it's my last May graduation as a trustee. And I was very happy to meet in person our new provost, Dr. Annie Dellman. I'm excited to see what she's going to do for Northern. And I'm just very happy with the direction NMU is going under President Tessman's leadership. And one other thing, I had tears in my eyes when we were listening to the new alma mater and goosebumps. So congratulations, Dr. Brady. Yeah, this is awesome. And that's it.
Well put. Thank you, Trustee Fatante. Trustee Holmquist.
All right, good afternoon. I will try to be brief as well. I know we're running a little longer than expected, but again, have just been impressed with all of the amazing work that's being done here at NMU. I know we had some updates from our pillar leaders yesterday, which was great to hear all of the activity. I know we were kind of debating pillars versus, I see a Venn diagram, that's what I see, all the circles, but it's just been amazing to see all of the forward movement and the focus on students, but that wouldn't happen without amazing faculty and staff. So I just want to thank everyone for all of the exciting initiatives that are going on. Of course, we have great news about enrollment, and as Gwen mentioned, and I think we've all have top of mind is housing as well. So I know we're continuing to think through that and how we can help our students. Also being a Marquette community member, I know how that is right now, just here in the community. I really also was excited to hear more about the Work Scholars program. We've heard about that for a bit, and continuing to have that blend between education and true real life work experience, and hoping to see what we can do in the future in those areas. Again, I want to congratulate our graduates. I'm excited for Saturday. It's always a great event. I really do love hearing our student speakers, so that's always one of the highlights for me. And Grace mentioned her theme of invisible strings, so I'm looking forward to some Swiftie Easter eggs out there during her speech. But again, just a great couple of days here, and looking forward to graduation, so thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Holmquist. And I'll call on Trustee LaPointe Dunham.
Sure. I just want to say how appreciative I am of, listening to everything and seeing everything, what our teams are doing, and incorporating Anishinaabe language and values and thinking behind what we're doing. It is impactful, and it's not going unnoticed, and it will be impactful for years to come. So I'm so excited about it. And it doesn't feel forced. It feels really intentional. You know what I mean? It's not overbearing, I feel like. So that's great too. But I just wanted to acknowledge that and tell you how appreciated I am.
Thank you, Trustee LaPointe Dunham. Now I have a little out of order here, but I'm going to skip over you. I'm not forgetting you, Greg. We'll go to Trustee Lindberg, and then we do it alphabetical when we get to you two. So,
Well, as I just would like to echo what everyone else has said. This has just been, for the most part, wonderful news. We have challenges ahead of us, but I think we've got a team on board that is more than ready to take those challenges on, around housing and all the other things that we deal with. I just find myself extremely fortunate to have been appointed to the board at this time. I just see great things in coming for Northern in the near future, and as we plan for those 7 generations down the line, that Northern is becoming a place that we're all going to be proud to say we had a part in.
thank you, Trustee Lindberg. Trustee Toutant.
Thank you. Certainly would echo all the comments everyone has made. And I wanted to point out one thing that jumped out for me throughout the last couple of days. There was a theme emerged, and that was Campus for All. And that really played out in everything that was done in presentations and our opportunity to interact with others. The multicultural graduation, Lavender graduation, we'll see the hard hat piece, all the different things. There's so much inclusion that is happening. The student experience update, the Okanagan Charter principles that morph into larger action, the inclusivity, the 360 Resource Center, the JEDI piece, Wellbeing Center. That whole theme really hit home through all of this for me, and I appreciated that. And whether it's facilities, pillar reviews, others, that Campus for All, there's a place here for everyone. And it's wonderful to see that play out. I had a parent last night that pulled me aside after the Lavender graduation and said, I want to let you know my son felt safe here to be who he is. And being new a couple of years ago, they said, we didn't know how that experience would be. It's scary to start something new. And said it couldn't have turned out any better here. There's a place for everyone here. So I just wanted to end with that, and I just thought very profound throughout the last couple of days on that Campus for All. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Toutant. Well said. I would just add, I can't add to what's been said around the table. I mean, it's I think everybody summarized it well. But I would add something, and my fellow trustees have heard me talk about this ad nauseum. But I want to speak to the bigger audience here, and that is I had a chance to be in a production here on campus. And it was anything goes. And it was a long story about how that all happened, but it happened. And like I said, my fellow trustees and Brock have heard me go on and on about this experience. But I think the thing that I took away from it, I'm obviously a little bit older and set in my ways. And what struck me was getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that you're not really comfortable doing. And I was a nervous wreck. I told Bill Dignite that I was just sweating. I was just totally nervous. But I had 2 lines, and I wrote one of them on my fingers because I was afraid I was going to forget it. And some of my fellow cast members saw it and were kind of giving me a hard time, going, "What's that?" I said, "Well, that's my line," and they were kind of chuckling because they've memorized pages and pages of dialogue. And here I got 1 line, and I was worried about getting it right. But I just would point it out that it did take me out of my comfort zone, but I learned so much, and I was really humbled by it. I got to be honest, totally humbled by that experience, because when you get out of your comfort zone, you realize how talented people are. And when I was able to interact with these students in this production, it was a musical. It blew me away, and I was totally awestruck by the level of talent we have with our students. And I know that's not just theater and dance. We have students like that all across this campus. And that's what's amazing to me when you sit down and think about all that. But it was a great experience. I appreciate Bill Dignight and his team, and Kristen Beth Ludwig she was my director and my choreographer, even though I didn't dance. But they made me feel really welcome, and it was really cool. And I would urge that, because I know there's a lot of theater lovers on this board. If you get a chance to do something like that, take advantage of it. It was a blast. So thank you for indulging me one last time. I won't talk about my theater experience anymore, but it's hard not to. So with that,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'm just looking at my hand here. I am a sinner.
Yeah, that was my line. So I was worried about, yeah, that's how nervous I was. Anyways, that concludes our formal session, and I would. Oh wait, before we adjourn, I do want to point out we do need to get some pictures right out by the stairway here before we go to lunch. And lunch is at noon, so we're in pretty good shape. So try and assemble as quickly as we can out here to get some photographs with the board and some others. And with that, we stand adjourned.